Be inspired, be involved, be a part of the shift. Aloha shifters, this is Brendon, and welcome to another Paradigm Shift team building video hangout here on the internet with also some amazing fellow shifters joining us here in the hangout. And let's all unmute ourselves and say hello to the beautiful people out there tuning into this. That's right. We've got dolphins joining us live tonight in the hangout, aka Michelle.
I was an owl.
Who was the dolphin? That was Amelia.
Yeah.
Amelia was the dolphin. There we go. Awesome. Well.
That was a little late.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, again for tuning in. As I mentioned, this is a Paradigm Shift team building hangout, and this is a part of the bigger project, ParadigmShiftCentral.com, which is a real-world game to help shift consciousness, and we are helping build a global team of shifters across the world to help conscious media by doing the little things that make the big difference and by helping build paradigm shift communities where we are. So as we keep going into this, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of some updates in terms of what's been happening in the paradigm shift community, and then we're going to be getting into some introductions. And of course, for those of you who are tuned in live and for those of you in the future, please share the show with your friends. And even for you guys who are joining me right here in the Hangout, I'm just going to post a YouTube link, and if you want to post that YouTube link in the side, then you can invite other people to tune in. This is an interactive community project, and we're always excited to be able to have more people synced up with the Paradigm Shift Central project. So in terms of some of the things that are new and exciting within the project, since the last week, just as a little bit of a recap, in the last week we had quite a busy series of events. We had a Paradigm Shift Dream class on Tuesday, and that went well, and then we had our first Paradigm Shift community admin meeting, which was one of the first ones that we had done in a while. The one prior to that was actually in 2013, but it's nice to be able to get things situated again. And again, the Paradigm Shift admin meetings happen once a month, and you can check out the schedule for those and the other events on the website. And in addition to that, we also had the global guided journey meditation, and again, that went really well. Those are always really exciting, and that was a full moon edition of it, as it usually is. And yeah, if you haven't listened to it yet, and if you're new to the project, then definitely inviting and encouraging you guys to go back and to check those out. And just in some other updates, just from my end of things, and then we'll get into some other people sharing some updates, and then we'll just sort of see where the conversation goes and see who else is going to be joining us. Some of the things that I was actually doing over the weekend is there was a new video that I released, which was the video about the March Against Monsanto rally, and some of you guys have already seen that video. And again, you know, like I'm letting you guys know about this because I want you guys to be aware of the fact that, like, a video like that, like, take a second to observe the impact that it made within our social media network, and the idea that the intention behind this project is encouraging and reminding you guys that you can all be conscious media creators, you can all be gonzo journalists helping document the shift from where you are and using the Paradigm Shift Central website as a platform. So again, you know, like, when we create videos with intention, it's not only promoting whatever the video is about, but when we're doing it through the team project, it's also inviting new people to be able to find out about the project. So, you know, I create that video, I put it out there, and then because of that, we've got a bunch of new people who are tuned into this broadcast as we speak, be it in the present or in the future. So be aware of, like, just like, you know, the idea that the videos and the media that we make, they're mediums for the message, but they're also invitations for people to be involved with the project. And then in addition to that, so that was on Saturday that I released that. Like, I filmed it and I turned it around and I released it as soon as possible, and there was a really strong message of hope. And without getting too much into what the video was about, I mean, it was about, like, the March Against Monsanto. It was really about encouraging people to educate themselves and encouraging people to create, like, the continued ripple effect through the everyday actions of our life by making smarter choices about food, supporting local farmers, and just, like, any of the little things that sort of tie into the ability of just like becoming more sovereign, the concept of becoming more sovereign and conscious. And so the other thing that I'm just going to mention real quick is that as another example of some media that was released the other day, I was inspired to create a new quest journal. And the quest journal that I created was called Remembering More of Who I Am, and then in brackets it was elf human hybrid question mark. So some of you guys already had a chance to read that, and there's I mean, that's something that, you know, I'd love to be able to talk more about within this broadcast, and we can go back to it. But again, you know, within the website, the way how the website's set up, like I'm able to produce that, to put it together, and to get it online, and then based on the way how we have the website set up, you can like go back and see how many people have actually read that article, who have actually visited that site. And right now it's close to about 300 people have actually like access that part of the website, who have clicked on that link. And then from there, another handful of those people who have actually joined the Paradigm Shift Central project, who have created a profile and signed up and created their account and have explored the website. So again, you can see that whether it's a conscious article that I'm putting out, whether it's a conscious article that you're putting out, it's really exciting when we see how like these are like good for inspiring people, for getting them to think differently, but they're also invitations for us to be able to invite more people to be in part of this project, and reminding you that this platform that we are building, it is a collective community conscious media network. And I'm going to be getting more into details about like just making sure that you guys are, if you have any questions about how to create your quest journals and everything like that, like please feel free to talk to me about that. That things we can talk about a little bit more, but really encouraging you guys to take your time when you're creating a quest journal. So instead of just like putting something that would be similar to a Facebook post where it's just like a couple sentences, take your time with it. Really like read it over, proofread it, present it, you know, put in some images, make it nice, make it clean, because that's going to allow it to A, go further, and B, as a result of going further, have that extended reach, which is again going to invite more people back to the project and invite more people to check out other people's content and invite them to be a part of the team building hangouts and the ongoing aspects of the project, and then potentially even creating a paradigm shift community where they are. So that's just some of the reminders of the dynamics of how this website and how this project is continuing to unfold, and still, you know, we're still in the early stages of it. There's still so much more that is going to be happening with it. So we'll talk more about that as we go, but for here, you know, there's some other updates, but I can go over those later, just about like the Jedi training class and the new sport that we're creating called Jedi Ball, which I'll tell you guys more about later, and just like other things related to the Paradigm Shift London community and how those meetings are going, and any other little stuff, some other additional upgrades and everything that I'm working on for the website, but I'll talk about those later. But for now, let's open the microphones to introduce some of the other shifters who are joining us here tonight, and we do have some familiar faces here, as well as some new faces. We have Amelia, we have Indigo Jack, we have Michelle, and we have Tristan, and I'm sure some more people will be joining into the Hangout as we continue to go through it. But if one of you guys wants to volunteer to go first, basically with the introductions, we'll just take a moment to say who we are, where we're from, some of the things that we're interested in, and how we are helping shift consciousness where we are. And so again, that can be through like community events, that can be through art you're creating, that can be through personal studies. It's very open-ended in that way. And then that allows us to get to know each other, develop as a team, and to also be able to practice. And as this broadcast evolves, we'll just be able to get more into the practice of engaging with metaphysical discussions and sharing knowledge and all that good stuff. So that's the basis of it. So let's is there a volunteer for who would like to introduce themselves first? I'll just give a moment here for whoever wants to. Does Jack wants to? Okay, all right. Jack, go ahead. We'll pass it over to you. So if you want to introduce yourself, go right ahead.
My name is Indigo Jack. I am a light worker, grid worker, animal communicator, and a distant energy healer. So that's my forte. Next.
And Jack, where are you from, and how are you how are you helping shift consciousness and stuff like that? Like, do you want to talk about any media that you've been working on and stuff?
Yeah, I'm in Crystal River, Florida. I'm working on some media recently, but it's not ready quite to be disclosed. But got some projects I'm working on internally, and I'm hoping to be able to bring that to the public very soon.
That's right. You heard it. Jack's got some top secret stuff going on, and I may or may not know about it, but yeah.
You know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, stay tuned because there's some really cool stuff. Me and Jack were working on some stuff, and we'll tell you guys about it when it's ready. But yeah, cool. Okay. Thanks for being here, Jack. Awesome. All right. Okay. So opening up the microphone, who would like to introduce themselves next? Tristan, go ahead. Welcome to Paradigm Shift. This is awesome having you here.
Good to be here. My name is Tristan.
Tristan, you're getting a little bit of a glitch. If you just want to try again.
No.
Try again.
All right.
I think you're good now. Yeah.
Okay. I grew up in Florida, but I've been a nomad recently. One of the main things I've been doing while traveling is working to promote basic income, and I guess through that I've been grappling with the ideas of scarcity versus abundance, and just recognizing that we have this notion of scarcity sort of programmed within us, and as we transition into like a more holistic society, I think that will sort of dissipate. So in terms of like helping the paradigm shift, I think I'm going to start a blog called Dissolving Duality, which is all about just like seeing the bigger picture in things.
I really dig that name, man.
Cool.
That's an amazing name, Dissolving Duality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are you going to write about?
Whew, there's like so many topics that could be covered. Like the political system, like scarcity versus abundance.
Oh, nice.
Like GMOs. It's like all of these things that are dividing people. It's like if you take a step back, it's like we should all be on the same page, you know? It's like everyone has points. Everyone's arguments have some validity. But like the bigger picture is that, you know, we should be all working on the same side.
Yeah, man, towards the good of the whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Oh, well, I bless your blog, man, your future articles. You can post them on the LiveNet and have millions of people read them, or hundreds. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, Tristan, have you is writing something that you've done much of in the past? Like, is that kind of your preferred form of expression, so to speak?
It's between that and also videography.
Perfecto.
Awesome. Sweet, man. Well, yeah, that's definitely something that we can talk more about. You know, I'd love to be able to brainstorm. And again, like this project is created to help people who may be new to YouTube channels or new to media creation, to help like give them a little bit of a boost in that community support in doing so. So yeah, like anything that you would be like thinking about posting through your blog, if you want to duplicate it and post it through the website and link it back to your blog, feel free to do that, because like that will just like be a cool way to make sure that people are seeing it when they connect through the project as well. So cool. I think Tristan might have froze her actually. Oh yeah, cool. Oh, Tristan, did you jump back in if you want? If there's, do you want to?
That's it. I'm lagging, so let's just keep moving.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here. And again, you know, Tristan, yeah, this is his first time being in the Hangout, and he just kind of stumbled across like, the article that I put up the other day about being an elf hybrid, and then you know he was inspired to join the Hangouts here. So that's exactly what we're talking about. Cool. Awesome. All right. So we'll pass it around, and just giving a shout out, we do have another player has joined the game, and that is our good friend Ashley. So, hey Ashley, welcome to the Hangout.
Hi, how are you guys doing today?
Doing pretty awesome. You didn't miss much. We only just got started, so. Cool. Okay, so between Michelle and Amelia and Ashley, we'll allow one of you guys to introduce yourselves next and see whoever wants to go.
Okay, I was I'll fill it. Yeah. All right. Cool. So I'm Michelle. Everybody, Michelle Infinity. Let's see. I don't really have anything specific that I want to say. I just want to contribute to the good of the whole. But I mean, I feel like there's a lot going on internally with all of us right now. I feel like we have this like a huge today, something I can share, and I don't know if it's a collective thing or not. I felt like there was a new vibration that kind of came up in the air today. How did you feel, Skull? Did you feel like there was a newness to today, like almost like the new moon's in a week? But did you feel like the pop? I felt like a shift in energy, like a new beginning of a cycle is starting. Did anybody else feel? I'll take an inventory.
I always feel that, you know, like that's always like such a interesting thing when people sort of acknowledge that, and when there are sort of syncs, but at the same time, like it could be like a very personal thing for you too. Like,
yeah.
It could be like within like your own like cosmic orbit or something.
For sure. So I'm going through a rebirthing process, and it's good. It's like it's exactly what you said, Skull, about in your article about recognizing more of yourself. And what I just walked through was a lot of like my shadow aspects, which were revealed to me as like parts of myself that I don't need to feed or value anymore, which is like really interesting. So I'm moving away from all of that and becoming who I really am, which is not somebody who indulges in those like, you know, ways of being anymore. And I think it's a really interesting thing in the maturation process of like as your personality evolves, is like you identify with a certain way of being, and then like you don't. And then who you really are, like in cosmic conscious truth, is like not identified with any of that, and like your eternal self, which I talked about that before. So that's like really deep and really trippy, but that's where that's what has been coming through in my way of being lately. So so I'm identifying with more of my soul aspects and learning how to be in that light. So that is what is up with me. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking before the broadcast began just a little bit on some of the themes that I was mentioning in the article I was talking about, and it is something I would like to be able to sort of reiterate within this broadcast as we get going on, because like I do feel like that's it's a very interesting idea, and just like the short story of it is, you know, like we talk about reincarnation, we talk about different people being open to the idea of like, you know, like, oh well, maybe in a past life I was like a Syrian or Pleiadian, and you get people talking about concepts of like star seeds and everything, but we don't always hear people like openly embracing the idea of like in the past life literally being something what we would refer to as a fairy folk or elvenkin, and that's because like, you know, like it's funny within the spiritual community how like we're almost it's almost easier for people to sort of like lean towards the idea of like Syrians and Pleiadians and star nations being real before they lean into the idea of like elves being real or something like that, for whatever reason, because it's one of those things where it's just like, well, if they were real, then we'd be able to see them. But that's kind of the whole idea, is that like it's, and again, this isn't just me saying this, is where you get into like a lot of traditions within culture where they talk about this, especially in Iceland, where this is like a very rich thing, and they say, you know, like there are cultures, there are communities, and they actually like live amongst us to this day. And perhaps back in the day it was different. Perhaps back in the day like the veils were thinner, and perhaps there's a reason why we can't see them now, because it would like affect a part of like the bigger learning process and stuff. But you know, it's this basic idea that, you know, they're not just this idea of being, there's different races, and you know, you can get into like, you know, like small dwarves and different shapes of elves and different fairies and everything, but there's also the idea that, you know, a lot of them theoretically were very human-like. You know, they would live lives, they would have families, they would eat food, they would sleep, they would farm, and so this is again just an opening up to an idea And the idea is that who's to say in a past life some of us haven't experienced these, and then we went through that experience, and now here we are now within this incarnation. And part of our mission is to sort of like carry with us the knowledge of these other dimensions and the magic of them into this physical dimension where things are like, there's that like that amnesia that is there, but that's part of our mission, is to like work through that amnesia and bring more magic into it and everything. Again, I know I just said I was going to mention just a little bit on that, but like the idea of us being potential elves reincarnated and fairy folk reincarnated, it's a paradigm shift, and I think it's still like a fresh topic within the community that hasn't really been talked about too much. But
Yeah.
if you guys want to talk about it a bit right now, and then we'll go through the introductions as we keep going, feel free, or we can go back to it. If you guys have any thoughts on that, feel free to jump in, or if it resonates.
Well, does anybody else have thoughts on that? I could say something. Go ahead. I feel like somebody else might want to.
If you're talking fairy folk, it's actually something I read a little bit about, and the most commonly held, I guess, belief, so to speak, is that they were actual races that were on the plane that we're on now, and some, for whatever reason, were either pushed out or decided to, best way to explain, I guess, would be to ascend. And that's why there's so many people that can come forward and say, yeah, I definitely think I'm half elf and half human. It's completely a thing. And yeah, a lot of people don't want to say it, but it's completely a thing. If you start doing some research into it, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes on that one.
Can I share something that I know from working with an intuitive? Actually, a woman I met at 3DL, her name is Judy. She was saying that a lot of us who have had magical past lives, we create a relationship to these spirits who are keepers of that realm. And so it's more of a, now I believe what you guys are saying, where it's like we were that. We chose to incarnate as elementals. We chose to, and Doreen Virtue actually has this huge, like she a franchise in a way of like telling people what race they're from, if they're an angelic hybrid or an elemental, and like like she even like creates quizzes that is like, are you what kind of but I also learned that it could be that you were a human being, but you worked with the tree spirits and the spirits of the nature and the elementals, which are the keepers of those realms and such. So, but I believe, like you guys, that we come in on that dimensional frequency. Like that's a part of our, that we can, just like we can incarnate as a human, we can incarnate as an elf spirit or a being. And I believe that it can be a physical thing or a vibrational energy, and I think that's a different, but they're in that same realm. So that's my take on all of that.
Yeah, for sure. Just before we keep going, I'm just gonna give a shout out. We have another player who has joined the game, and just want to give a shout out to Rebecca. Rebecca, are you there? I know you're moving your camera right now.
Yeah, can you see me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. You're traveling through the dimensions as we speak. So.
I wasn't sure if I needed headphones, but I guess not.
It seems to be okay. Yeah, so that's cool. Well, hey Rebecca, good to see you. Long time no talk. So.
I know, it's been a while.
Cool. Rebecca is a veteran to the Paradigm Shift community. Her and I have gone. We go back to the Paradigm Shift days of early 2011 actually, and she was a part of the Paradigm Shift London community. And since then, she's been traveling the world, and now she's you're in Alberta now, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in Jasper, Alberta, and
Awesome.
I've just opened this space for Paradigm Shift Jasper at a new yoga studio that opened up. So that just started last Sunday.
You guys already had a meeting for it?
Have we already had a meeting?
Or I was just asking, or you're just saying that, but you're just getting it rolling?
Yeah, last week was our first one.
Oh, sweet. How did that go? If you want to tell us a bit about it right now.
It was good. It was straight after a yoga class, so there was people who trickled in from yoga. there was about 5 ladies there, and everyone kind of shared, like, yeah, like how they got on the spiritual path, and like, yeah, everyone just shared something, and at the end, I did a bit of a meditation. I was a little bit nervous about it, but it went well, so.
That's awesome. Cool. I'm really excited to hear that. That you're able to get those going again where you are. That's really cool. Cool. Let's go back to like the fairy conversation in a bit. Let's just keep going through the introductions. But Rebecca, if you want to introduce yourself, just kind of in addition to what you were saying, it's basically just like your name, where you're from, which you already mentioned, some of the things you're interested in, and how you're helping assist with the shift in consciousness, whatever that means to you. So if you want to introduce yourself, go ahead, Rebecca.
Oh, so I'm Rebecca, and I live in Jasper, Alberta at the moment, but I'm from Ontario in the Muskoka region. I'm interested in healing, like energy healing, and yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't know. Everything is just a mystery, and I find that like you can't really figure it all out. You just have to live the mystery, and I don't know. It's nice to hear other people's stories and like what other people think. So this is kind of nice to be part of this Google Hangout. So thanks.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Rebecca. I'm glad you're able to make it. So that's cool. All right, so let's keep passing the talking stick around, and we'll go through some more introductions. And we do have another player who has actually joined the game. Hey, how's it? If you guys just want to mute yourself, hey, brother. You can do that now. Let me give it a second. Oh. Okay, hold on. I gotta make sure that my computer's not gonna crash because I'm out of hard drive space. One sec. Okay, sorry. DJ, are you there? Can you hear us? DJ, we can hear you on your end if you want to just try testing your microphone. Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll go back to DJ as he's just getting situated. I know he just got in, but let's pass the microphone around and do some introductions. So between the people who are left, we still have Amelia and Ashley. So if one of you guys wants to jump in on introductions, please feel free. And probably, go ahead, Ashley. Yeah, because I'm not sure if Amelia's there. So
Hi guys, I'm Ashley Marie. I'm from New Jersey. I'm an empath, and I enjoy meeting new people around the world. And I like to recognize the interconnectedness between all of us. And I love to keep connected with people around the world and teach them ways to center themselves and balance themselves and truly connect from within. So yeah.
Cool. And Ashley, did you just graduate? Did that happen?
Yeah. I just actually graduated today, so it was awesome.
Oh
Thank you.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Congratulations.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does that like really excite you, like the idea of like just like new potentials and new freedom and everything?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm really excited, so it's great. Yeah.
Sweet. Now I know before you were talking about like some of the art you were working on. Is there anything related to that you want to share? Some like ideas that you got for projects coming up, maybe?
Well, so far, I have to get my cameras fixed and everything, but I want to be able to read poetry and like create different colors and different creativity with that poetry, as well as I'm producing a song and I'm dedicating it to the Indigo children, and yeah, so it's very exciting.
I'm sure Jack will be down with that. There he came on for that.
I heard Indigo, and I'm
Indigo?
like, into my computer.
Those are my
Indigo
peeps.
song.
Yeah, cool. Well,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome, Ashley. So cool.
definitely.
And whereabouts did you say you were located? I think you mentioned that. I just forget off the top of my head.
I'm in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
I'm in New Jersey, so. Yeah.
Cool. And there is a Paradigm Shift New Jersey. I could get you in touch with one of the admins there if that's something.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, I would love to get in touch. I'm working on an Indigo group. Hopefully, starting an Indigo group around New Jersey area, so it's exciting.
Sweet, awesome.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just on the topic of like facilitating community and starting up paradigm shift communities, for those of you who are tuned in, because we won't like literally go over everything in this broadcast, I really encourage people to go back and check out the admin hanging that we did earlier in the week, which would have been last Thursday, which would have been on May 19th, and there's just like a lot of information there about like what creating a paradigm shift community entails, and also some tips and tricks on like how to facilitate space, how to grow it, how to build it, and all sorts of information. So again, the paradigm shift communities, their basic concept is open-minded discussion and meditation circles, and of course it can become like more dynamic. You can get really creative with it, but it's really just about creating a space where people who are interested in talking about the metaphysical aspects and the spiritual aspects of life can have a place to come and talk, because there's a lot of people out there who are really interested in these things, but without that outlet, without that community outlet, they're just kind of like keeping to themselves. So it's about building the tribe, it's about bringing people together, and then that's like part of the excitement is seeing what unfolds through there, and the new relationships in the community, and what you're able to learn from each other. So Ashley, I'm excited to hear that you're taking steps forward to being able to get things happening where you are with an Indigo group, as you mentioned. So that's cool. Awesome. And was there anything else you wanted to mention at the moment before we pass the talking stick around?
Yeah, it's interesting because you're from Canada, and actually, in my song, it's based on a true story and part of my journey. And I actually, in Canada, I had a big part of my journey unfold, and it includes a little piece about Montreal. Oh. So it's very interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And yeah.
I was just gonna say, is it already written, or are you still writing it?
Yeah, I actually have it already written, but I have to work in the studio getting it put together even better and even more. And it's all about also breaking out of the matrix and really developing your own ideas and furthering conscious thinking.
That's wicked. Yeah, like I love the idea that, like as this project evolves, like there's several of us who are leaning towards the idea of like creating music in particular. And I've joked about this before, but the idea of like having sort of like a paradigm shift like mixtape or something like that, of like different of like spoken poetry, but like actual songs and just like a bunch of cool stuff and everything. So
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be something, in future team building hangouts, we can sort of use them as community workspaces where, we can use that time space to sort of like collaborate on writing things in that moment, and, just encouraging people that between meetings to practice writing things, and that if you do have any poetry that you want to share, you can bring those to the Paradigm Shift team building hangouts to be able to practice sharing as well. So just having that little extra incentive is really goes a long way. So
wonderful.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that's exciting, Ashley. So thanks for bringing that to the circle and to the team. I'm looking forward to it. That's cool. Awesome. Okay, so we'll keep passing the talking stick around. And Amelia, would you like to go next?
Sure.
Cool.
So my name's Amelia. I am from Calgary, Alberta. So I might be having to take a drive out to Jasper one of these days. What I'm doing to help the paradigm in my community. It's mostly personal studies and just educating myself so that when other people come to me with questions, I can at least give them enough of an answer to point them in the right direction. That's my biggest
That's good.
job.
That's really important. I think that's like something that's almost like so like obvious that it's kind of overlooked. Like the idea of just like reminding ourselves that within our community, like a big part of this is that, yeah, you know, for some of us, we've been researching this stuff for like 5, maybe 10 years, and then there's going to be people who are brand new to this stuff, and they're going to be like, what the hell's a chakra, you know? And then like if you're a person who can at least give some sort of insight, and like you said, maybe not tell them everything, but at least point them in a direction, I think that that's really important. So that's really cool to hear you sort of like intentionally taking on that role, because that I think that's something all of us can keep in mind as well. So that's cool. That's cool. And sweet. And did you have like interest in any particular like media or like writing and stuff like that? Like, could you see putting together some like quest journals for the website related to anything in particular in the future?
Anything in particular? I don't know. You know, I've kind of thought about working on some sort of a blog type deal, but I was the kind of person that always just wrote tons and tons in diaries, and that was it, and never shared it with anybody. So it's a really weird concept to go from like not ever talking to anybody about it, and then like, hey, look at everybody what I wrote. It's an adjustment.
For sure, yeah. I think again, you know, like with the website, with what we're creating, with the opportunity for people to have the platform through the quest journals, I just want to really remind you guys to like never underestimate the you know, the potential of our personal stories to be able to help inspire other people. So if that means like talking about, you know, like your personal revelations, even your personal challenges, like your own personal paradigm shifts, like I think that's something that can really go a long way. So I mean, if talking about yourself is like something that's a good jump point for you to work with, and you know, I just really encourage people to do that. And again, you know, moving forward into the future, like the quest journals are something that are there for practice for people, and just keep in mind, like when you're going out to an event, if something's happening to you, and keep in mind, like in the back of your head, it would be like, oh, this could be a really cool quest journal. For example, you know, say you're just like going downtown, but then you have like a crazy synchronicity and you happen to meet someone and something happens, without needing it to be like a super embellished story. That in itself could be a cool quest journal, just to sort of document the fact that like, hey, synchronicities are real, this is happening, this is my experience, and, you know, we're sort of logging that. And then again, you know, it creates practice, and then down the road, like when you have like a community event or a paradigm shift meeting, creating a quest journal based just on like recapping it is always cool. So again, you know, like I know the quest journals are still a new thing for people, and it's something that is just going to like evolve over time, but really, you know, inviting and encourage guys, and even like the one that I posted the other day, again, like they're remembering more of who I am as an elf-human hybrid. Like that's look to that one as just an example of one thing that could be written about. And so I mean, yeah, you can get it like as like logical and as metaphysical as you want with it. And even just another idea, and I'll just say this real quick, you know, even inviting you guys to practice writing like short stories. Like that's a really cool idea, is to like write short stories as a quest journal, and even do it in parts. So you could have like part 1 and just literally like see what happens, you know, just like see what, like just practice it as almost a form of channeling. You know, like free-form writing and channeling and typing is a very interesting thing to be able to do, because you'll be surprised what comes out. And oftentimes, a lot of people are just like, "Whoa, I can't do that," but that's only just because we haven't given ourselves permission to really practice it. And so again, this is a safe space for us to be able to practice and to become better channelers of creative ideas and all sorts of awesome stuff. So yeah, if anybody has any thoughts, I'm just go ahead, Michelle. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to just tell you that one of my girlfriends told me I shared something that came out of my journal, and it's funny because I have journals that have a lot of stuff that need to be shared, but I know what you feel about sometimes you're like, you know, you just don't, it's not a natural instinct to do that, right? Well, one night I have a Facebook page from Michelle Infinity, Infinite Everything, and I put something that was like straight up out of my journal from like, say like 6 months ago, say like the beginning of the journal, right? And I'm like at the end of the journal, and I added a picture, and it was just like 6 sentences, you know? And like mad likes, and then my girlfriend at the health food store like the next day was like, I like meditated with that. It was like exactly what I needed to hear. So sometimes like the juice like from our heart soul like that we're putting onto our thing and we don't think it's going to apply, like somebody needs to hear it and we don't even know. And that's something that I love about Skull is you just put the stuff out there, you know, and like to have the faith and trust that like it's going to hit somebody and somebody's going to need it, you know. It's medicine. And we all carry medicine for each other, and we forget that, you know. And that's like a huge, potent thing about this whole shifty thing is that we are all reminding each other constantly of how sacred life is, because we forget, because the Matrix is all like, dull your senses, and, you know, and it's so easy for us to just collectively be in that vibe. And so people need you to be brave so that, and you feel it too, you feel liberated. Like now, like, I don't know, I'm done talking. My cat's like, all right, you're done. But it's liberating for you to share too. Yeah, my cat's like, all right, enough, girl.
No. You're right though, Michelle. That brings up a great point, and just to reiterate, you know, like never underestimate the synchronicity that happens through the digital networks, through our digital social media, because even just again an example, yesterday, like I felt called to post that. I posted it, and literally like 10 minutes after I posted that in one of the like 15 groups that I shared it on, like there were multiple people who commented, but there was like one person, and they just like very much emphasized, they're just like, holy crap, like this was like exactly what I needed to hear at this point, like you have no idea, like this is such a huge synchronicity for me. So I mean, like that happens, you know, and it's amazing how the timing on that happens, you know, like maybe if I had posted it in an hour earlier, he wouldn't have seen it, or an hour later, he wouldn't have seen it. It's kind of those things is that like do it within your own flow, and you'll post it and release it at the exact time when it's needed. That's kind of like the thing, and that's kind of the powerful thing, is that reminding ourselves that we're creating medicine and doing it from like an altruistic point of view. You're doing it for your own process, but then never underestimate like what it means to someone else. And again, you know, like that inspires them, and they're just like, hey, I want to write a quest journal too, and then that builds a team, and that's again, it builds this ripple effect. And then you know, again, like this is kind of working towards like this long vision of like having an enlightened society by like 2035 or something like that, or some, you know. And
I love
so
that.
it's just little ripples, but yeah. And you know, it's important because we're we're kind of leading the way in this. This is new, but it's also very old, so it's a resurgence in that sense. But yeah, we'll definitely talk more about quest journals and all sorts of awesome stuff like that. But again, you know, I'm just really looking forward to now that summer's here, now that you guys might have some free time, to seeing what you guys can do. And again, you know, my job as director is to be able to make sure that your content gets seen by more people. So you guys post it up, and then I'll like do the behind the scenes work and help share it, and like that's where the team crowdfunding comes in and promoting it. And again, it's really dynamic in that sense. So cool. Does anybody else have any comments on anything that we were talking about within those moments, or any questions about quest journals in particular, possibly? No? Okay, cool. All right. Well, I was just gonna say, Michelle, are you still leaving at 11? Was that your plan?
Oh yeah, like 10 more minutes. Well, then I'll say the one thing I was thinking.
Sure,
Okay, concept. Okay, this might not have any relevance, but I'm going to say it anyway. So you know how you said it's very old, but it's going to be again? That theme has been coming up for me a lot, like in the last few days, how, you know, in like, who knows about the yugas and like time where like the golden age and like Atlantis and Lemuria and everything was like perfect, and like then it went into the dark ages and everybody got into separation, and now we're like bringing that back. That is like in my consciousness this week, like hardcore, about the fact that like it was once perfect and we remember that, and like we're bringing the dawn, like the Pleiadian prophecy, which I've never read, is like the bringers of the dawn. And it's like that, just I've been seeing synchronistic signs about like the golden memories and the golden age, and like how we're coming into that again. So that's it. So I just wanted to be like, yeah, that's, again, I'm seeing that.
Yeah, I mean that's a topic in itself. You know, like even that, I am one to write a poem about that. You know, write a poem about like Bringers of the Dawn or something like that. You know, like pick a topic, pick an idea, pick an inspiration, and run with it, sort of thing. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I will, like, in my video, like in the new moon or something, the next cycle, like, we'll talk about like the fact that we are bringing what we remember of like purity, like this purity consciousness or this golden consciousness or Christ consciousness, and like we're like actualizing that on the planet again. Like, I don't know. So there's some, like, that's what we're doing, and like for people to get real about that or something, to like ground into that. That's what I feel.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, definitely. So,
The baby says so too. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to add on to the grounding into that. I think that in a way, yeah, I know. In a way, people are almost afraid to admit to believing in that sort of thing, right? Because there's, you know, unfortunately in the society we live in, I know. When you're a kid, you know, everybody pretends they're a mermaid or a pirate or all of these things, and they don't realize the fact that, you know, that can be from past, that can be from memories. But we tell, you know, past generations have told them, no, that's not the case. So now we're turning around and saying, actually, and they don't know what to do with it. You know, it's like a kid in a candy store. Again, they don't know what to do with it now.
Yeah, and that's why, like, you know, the topic, yeah, that's a good point, Amelia. The topic that, you know, again, going back to what I was writing in my quest journal about, you know, like the idea of us being fairy folk and all sorts of different creatures and reincarnating within this lifetime intentionally, as that opening up that possibility. I just feel like that's like new territory. There's really something exciting there. And whether we're talking about it now or whether we're talking about it later.
Well, check this out. Because if we're, so those of us who have had several lifetimes, if we're really multidimensional beings, then we have like all of those archetypes inside of us, and we also have those other lifetimes inside of us too. Like, one of my really good friends, I noticed this last year with, where it's like those of us who have an elevated consciousness, we have these multidimensional selves. So like we have so many aspects of ourselves, so many archetypes are like within one person. We have like 12 different personalities, and they come from all of these different past lives that we've accessed, or these like astral dimensions perhaps that we access at night when we sleep, you know, whatever that is, that we're calling on those energies. And then not only those, but like star beings that we're connected to, like, you know, Kevin transmits that, and shout out to him, it's his birthday, holla, holla, holla. But the Lila Rose is like a drop down, I feel, you know, of like this other vibration. Like I don't see that coming from like inside him out. I see that coming from like up and down. So it's almost like we can call on like astral identities, you know, it's kind of cool. So multidimensional selves.
Yeah, like becoming, you know, like sort of like this like central transmission center, like again, like acknowledging like our bodies. Acknowledging our bodies as like this form of like divine technology, you know, you're saying, like, it's this idea that, and even what I was talking about in my journal, like, it's not the idea of like, it's like we're half this, we're half that, we're a little bit of this, we're a little bit of that. It's like no, like we are full everything. We are full this, full this, full this, full this, full this, all in one being. Just because I know I didn't mention it here, but like just to put some context, but I really encourage people to go back and read that question if they're interested that I wrote. My sort of paradigm shift that I had, again, it goes back to this idea of us realizing that there's clues that we have left for ourselves within this reality this time around that are sort of pointing to past lives and, again, future lives as well, theoretically, which is a very interesting thing. But just like pointing on that, real quick, what I was just saying, the context for that was like the idea that showing you guys on camera, like my left ear is like very similar to an elf ear. It's an elf ear, so to speak. And so like when I was growing up, like that was always a thing. It was just like, people would point it out to me, and I would just be like, oh yeah, like I've got an elf here, like, and that means I'm like part elf or whatever. But then like for most of my life, I was just like, I would half joke about it. I would half take it seriously because everyone knows that elves aren't real, sort of thing. But then as you started getting more into this idea of like multidimensional entities being a thing and everything like that, and then basically my paradigm shift was like, hey, like maybe the reason why I have an elf ear is because like for me that's supposed to be like a thought seed that I planted for myself within this lifetime to remind me of the idea without again, like I'll explain in a second, of the idea that within another incarnation I actually lived like as one of these fairy folk, which isn't like like super fantastical. It might have been very, very human-like, just like in another dimension sort of thing. And then I had those experiences. I was like rooted in nature. I had an understanding of like esoteric philosophies and magic and concepts related to metaphysics and everything like that. And then again, and then I chose to come here into this lifetime, and then based on like me connecting the dots, it kind of relates to this idea that throughout this lifetime, without even fully believing that I'm an elf, I've been doing things very similar to what an elf would do if he chose to incarnate in this lifetime with that intention. So I mean, for me, it was all sort of matching up. But just on this point, because it's very important to keep grounded, and that's like a really important thing that I want to remind us within this community. It's like, don't get too heady. Like don't get just be like I'm an elf and I'm a fairy and da 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 da, and just like and then people are just like, that kid has problems. Like it's like you can believe that, but like ground yourself into a connection to this reality and still like do
That was so good.
da, 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 and still and just like do what you got to do in this reality. Like don't like disconnect yourself from your responsibilities within your reality. You kind of got to play a few games at once. You kind of got to jump through a few hoops at once. And so like for me though, the idea is that I can theorize this as best as I want, but what I'm seeking right now is truth through personal experience within my connection of the dream space. Because again, like within this idea, we've talked about this before, the dream space is like sort of this central space where people from other dimensions can all come together, can all meet, can all communicate, whether it be people who have died, whether it be other entities, whether it be fairy folk. Like other people have talked about this, like they'll say like the queen of the fairies came to me in my dream, and it was like a really, really unusual but very visceral dream, and to them they're like, I knew it was real, sort of thing. So again, like my intention is to like go into my dream space, to work towards lucidity, and to like literally ask this question within my dream, and to like evoke the actual fairy folk within this dream, and to be in an actual conversation with them. Like this sounds like quite an objective, but I know it's one that's plausible, therefore I know it's one worth working towards in that sense. And then the other kicker, and I'll just mention this here because it's very unlikely that my parents will listen to this and stuff like that, yada yada yada. But another option is through the use of psychedelics, is through the use of altered states of consciousness. People talk about this. They say, like when I was working with the magic mushrooms, I was actually like in contact with the fairy folk and things like that. But again, this happens with people who don't even do magic mushrooms. One story was a guy who was like walking through a forest like in Ireland, and it was really, 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 really dark at night. But then eventually his eyes adjusted to the darkness, and he said that he started seeing fairies, and he thought he was hallucinating, but he wasn't. But he was like tuned into their vibration, and then he was like there long enough and actually had an interaction with them, and actually like again, it's interesting. It's an interesting idea, but with the idea of concept of psychedelics, my intention, again, I'll just tell you guys, like, coming this solstice, like, I'm going to be going to Om. So sorry, Rebecca, just 1 second. I'm just going to finish this thought, and then I'll open it up for you. I'm going to be going to Om Festival. There's a transformational festival that happens here in Canada. My intention is to go there and to work with psychedelics in this space. It is a very sacred space. It is a very magical place. And within my intention of doing that, like, I'm going to do it to, like, reconnect with that elven part of myself, and also to, like, open myself up to the opportunity of, like, seeing what happens, without having to set expectations or whatever. But again, just everyone do their own research, be smart about things. Psychedelics are something you got to research. We'll spend a whole nother time talking about that. But again, like, this is a bigger part of the story, and it would make for one hell of a quest journal. So, yeah.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spiritual growth. I just want to say, if we don't talk about this again, I bless that journey for you for
Mm.
sure. And I hope that you are gifted with sacred knowledge for your growth and for the growth of all of the tribe for
That's
sure.
right.
Oh God, that would be so good. I can't wait to hear about it. It'll be great.
Yeah, like literally it's my plan to actually document myself doing magic mushrooms, and I haven't like had like a solid trip in like quite a few years. Last year I did LSD at the festival and it was like so friggin' amazing, and I still have footage of that, but I haven't released it yet because it's like something that I gotta, be
Yeah.
iffy about, sort of thing, because again I
Mhm.
don't want my mom to see it, basically. Like honestly, that's the only reason. um it's for her sake. I don't want her to stress out about it, right? But again, yeah, you're right. Like the intention wouldn't just be to do it for like something fantastical. The intention would to do it to like connect to a deeper awareness of myself and this reality, and to know through my own experience, and to be a journalist between this world and another, as one world, as one, to be that bridge. That's something that I've talked about before, being like a journalist between dimensions, whether it's a dream space, whether it's psychedelics, whether it's everyday life. That's something that I feel any of us can do as well. Okay, I just want to pass it over because I know Rebecca was looking to jump in on something. Rebecca, did you want to open up your microphone if you had something to add? If you
I actually didn't want to say anything. I thought I was muted, like I thought I muted myself. But yeah, I don't really have much to say at this moment. I just like to listen. And actually, you should come to Harvest Festival as well. That's in September. I'm coming to Ontario in September, by the way.
Cool.
And yeah, and I've been experimenting with growing my own mushrooms, so it's been fun.
Tell us how that's been.
Well, I started my own, or I bought like an already inoculated kit, so all I had to do was add water. So they've been growing easily, but we've recently experimented with like starting our own substrate and like inoculating the jars ourselves, but the last ones got moldy, so it's yeah, everything has to be really sanitary for it to work. Otherwise, mold can get in and it will infect the whole batch. But yeah, it's been good. And the other day, me and my roommate Taylor, um, we we ate some and went into the forest, and it was really awesome. And I remember coming home and sitting in my room and feeling like, why do I have all this stuff? Like, I just felt really uncomfortable with all this, like, this mess around me in my bedroom. And that totally makes sense because, like, feng shui is a thing. So, like, depending on how you have things set up in your room, energy will flow in a certain way. So that kind of made sense because, yeah, because I could, like, sense it on the mushrooms.
When
So.
totally. Oh wait, I don't want to. When I came back from Guatemala, it's the same thing. You look at everything when you leave your life, and you look at all your physical objects that, like, all the things that like weigh you down astrally, and you look at it and you're like, well, this is all stuff. And then it does actually weigh you down astrally, like the more that you come. But isn't it funny how it's like when you're a spirit, when you're an energy being, you're like so much lighter, you know? And then you're just like, I should just get rid of all of my shit because it's not doing anything for me. But then you get comfortable and you're like, no, but I like having all of, it's a very interesting, that's a weird thing that happens to us, that when we leave our lives and then we come back and we're like, why am I not living out of a suitcase all the time? It's so much more fun. That's how I feel, at least.
I was Rebecca. Sorry. I know I'm closer. Oh, there we go. Rebecca, when you were in Australia.
Am I supposed to mute myself, or will you control the mute?
Go ahead. You can mute, because that's what happens. Yeah. Highly. Okay, I was just gonna ask real quick. You spent a lot of time in Australia. When you were in Australia, were there any people, like, did you hear any people talking about like fairy folk in Australia? Did that ever come up or anything? Because I feel like that's like something very close to the culture, and again, like there would be like places where you could like still find them and stuff. Did that cross your path at all?
Not so much specifically fairy folk, no. Not that I can recall very strongly, but I definitely met a lot of like traveling hippies. I guess you could say they were hippies. They still
Those
smoked
are kind of
cigarettes.
fairies.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So maybe, yeah, I don't really have anything to say about fairies because I don't know, like people have told me, oh, you're like, oh, actually, the other day when we did mushrooms, my roommate said I looked like a little forest creature, like this little elf thing. She said I shapeshifted into this little forest creature looking thing. But that wasn't in Australia, that was here in Jasper. And this is just as magical a place, I think, if not more, here in Jasper. So
That's cool to hear. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah. Again, like going back to what we were talking about earlier and stuff, like what happens when more of us sort of at least just open up to the idea of like reconnecting with like that inner elf, the higher self sort of thing. Like I even just the word higher self, like take out the S, higher elf sort of thing. Like that. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, but yeah, no, I could definitely see. Yeah, within all of us here, I see a little bit of fairy folk and everything. Like now that the conversation's like there, it's just like, oh yeah, like it's obvious or something, right? Like before we just like had the filters on where we were just ignoring it and everything. But again, just let's keep grounded in this. Let's like not just like jump overboard with the idea just yet. But again, it's a potential, it's a possibility in this hyperdelic reality, and we'll see where it goes. Indigo, did you want to jump in? Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention, the indigo perspective to let everyone realize that when we're little babies, we can see in the other realms. We can see all the spirits, especially when sometimes younger kids say they have an imaginary friend and sometimes they get in trouble or that people make them think they're crazy. Sometimes they could be seeing their guides, So there's a lot more to this than people really understand. So if you really want to start seeing fairies, if you really want to start experiencing that dimension, so to speak, it's really about connecting with your inner child to the deepest level possible, because they are so playful. They're actually little pranksters, And once you get your inner child going really well, it's just so fun to play with the little guys, just jumping around, and they're really on a serious level. They're like the protectors of the forest on a deep level. They're serious about it too, but they still have fun. They joke around, and once you get yourself really connected deeply with your inner child, you'll start to be able to experience them a lot more.
Yeah. On that note, I recommend people who haven't yet to go back and do the full moon meditation that we just did, because literally like that is the theme that we play with. And I'm not sure if Indigo actually has had a chance to tune into that one, but yeah, like within that meditation, without having to spoil it, we go into the forest, and within the meditation you actually meet the Kodama. And the Kodama are those little creatures from Princess Mononoke, those little like white forest spirits. And so like that was like something that just intuitively came through to me. I'm just like, because again, when I'm doing these global meditations, I'm not just doing it to make up a fantastical story. Like I'm actually kind of doing it to be like an ambassador for like other intelligences and other ideas and everything like that. So we'll have more meditations where we'll actually go and interact more with the fairy folk. And again, like with me being elf-human hybrid, this seems right in line with what I would do. Is again sort of like bridging the worlds and everything. And when we go into the meditation, we go into the dream space. Like that's like this place where we can make those connections again. And yeah, so again, just go back and check out that global meditation if you kind of want to like what Jack was saying. You can kind of tap into that childlike perspective, and you'll get to play with the Kodama and stuff like that. So. Ashley, you said that you shared that meditation with your friend or whatever. What did they have any thoughts on that, or if you want to share anything?
Yeah. I love meeting people who are like open, and the other day, it was my birthday last week, and my best friend went to a spiritual store, and she asked a man about the indigo children and other spiritual aspects, and it really meant a lot to me, especially when people are open to learning new things and really learning. They may not understand everything, but being open to learning about the indigo children and spiritual endeavors, and especially if you're really connected to it, so it was great. And my friend got me a few things. And then I said to her yesterday, I'm like, you know, a lot's been going on lately, and I said, why not we try a meditation? And she was very open to it, which was really fantastic. And we started listening to Hayao Miyazaki's, some of his music. And I said to her, I'm like, how about we listen to Brendon's meditation? And we did that for a little while. And it was really nice, and she really enjoyed it, and it was really calming, and we just laid out on a rug and just visualized it. I definitely have to practice visualizing and keeping my focus. I don't know if you guys ever have trouble visualizing yourself in meditation, but I tend to have a lot of trouble visualizing myself as I am. I can easily visualize other people much better than I can my own self. So it's just learning how to visualize yourself better and learning how to stay connected within that realm and kind of keep your focus directed on it. But, you know, it was a great adventure, you know, to help balance the mind and creativity as well. So it was great.
You guys are reminding me of, you know, in the shamanic realm, you know how it's like meditation, but you're going into like a trance state. So the like the drum beats, and then you go on a shamanic journey, they call it. And it's like a meditation visualization / astral lucid dream thing, because it's like you're creating this reality that kind of shows up on itself, you know? So it's like a hybrid between lucid dreaming and meditation, because it's something that Skull was mentioning earlier, and then now just Ashley said that. So that's really interesting. And yeah, like keeping my focus is something that's really come up a lot lately for me as well. And kind of spirit schooling you on like how important that is in order to progress on your path. But something that I just want to say to people who have that question about, like Ashley, like you have to kind of take things as they come. So if you can't physically see yourself, maybe you like seeing out of your eyes is how that works for you. Because it depends on the camera angle for me. Like if I'm walking like downstairs, I can see like myself go downstairs, but like if I'm going to like forward, it's like out of my eyes. I don't see myself moving forward. So you have to kind of play with what shows up for you. But we should definitely have like team building focus, like everybody try to like, magic classes, like hone our skills. 11/11 magic classes, 11/11. Oh man, I gotta go to bed. But yeah, we need to have like a practice. we have to have like a practice. I think that would be very beneficial, because it would be shared group consciousnness, so we would get more out of it, right? And we would hone our skills, and then we could talk about our discoveries and stuff like that. So I'd like to do something like that. Maybe I'll create an outline of what that might look like, and we could play. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I like that. Just kind of like, I'm trying to. I mean, we can flesh out the specifics and stuff like that. But I mean, like even within our dream class, we're kind of working towards that, like specific visualization practices. But yeah, like we could theoretically just like have specific classes focused on like visualization, kind of meditation type stuff.
We need to research focus techniques, like maybe Buddhist focus techniques, or how do people like actually get into meditation states, and then practice them together, and then talk about, and then do that for a couple minutes and invite other people to join us, and then talk about if it worked or what our difficulties are or something like that. So.
Cool. I like the sound.
Yeah. And I have to go. I'm feeling, but I love you guys so much. I love you. All
right. Well, 11/11. Thank you so much for being here, Michelle. And again, for everyone listening, for Michelle and everyone else, you can find her links through the information for the show notes. But Michelle is infiniteeverything.net. So yeah.
And Michelle Infinity, Infinite Everything on Facebook and all that jazz. So I love you guys. Be like empowered and heart-centered, and
you're gonna remember your dreams tonight, by the way. So.
Thank you for the blessing, brother. Bye.
All right, talk to you later. See ya. Bye. Cool. All right. If anybody else has anything, they just feel free to jump in at this point. We're kind of in free flow conversation mode, so.
Just going back to the realization that we all, as babies, have this innate power that we've moved away from. So getting ourselves back to innocence, getting ourselves back to that freedom just to play and just to let our imagination actually be a tool for the universe, to be able to see some of these things and to experience some of these things from other dimensions. So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And I think, again, like for me, just like dream space is always something that I go back to, because that's like sort of like this playground where we can really tap into some of these concepts and explore it. And yeah, cool. Okay, I was just gonna sorry, I was just gonna say, just to give a welcome, we do have another new player who has joined the game, and shout out and aloha to Ashley. Ashley, welcome back to the team Hangouts. So cool. Did you want to just test your microphone real quick?
I had muted myself. Hi everyone, how's it going?
Good.
Just jumping on the tail end here. I just got back from a work trip, so.
Cool. Well, we were doing like introductions and stuff earlier, just kind of like saying who we are, where we're from, and like what we're interested in, and perhaps like any updates on how we're helping shift consciousness. Is there any updates that you want to share with the community? Like
yeah, actually, I just finally got the courage. I've had like this vision of kind of this whole mission that I really want to do. And I just like saw myself doing it one day when I was kind of having my awakening, and it's this whole project called It Only Takes Three, and it boils down to that at any given moment, no matter what's going on in your life, if you're stressed out, if you have a lot on your mind, for any reason, you can just take 3 deep mindful breaths in the present, and it just helps bring you back to center. And then it just kind of stems off from there. I'm super into like the law of attraction and just different meditations that you can do, and just really teaching people that meditation should be, in my opinion, something that everyone does on a day-to-day basis. It should be a practice that even like little kids are taught. I just feel like it's a piece of being human that so many of us have forgotten. And I used to think that like yoga was you had to go do crazy handstands and like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel that meditation and the act of just spending some time with yourself each day and just clearing your mind and allowing yourself to just be, that should be promoted so much more in this world. So that's the whole premise behind it. And I finally got the courage and the confidence to do it this week. And I think me joining the the shift meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago, where we were talking about the meetups and stuff, that like really helped me, give me that courage and realize that like I'm not the only one has these ideas and that's in this, this whole shift concept, and that wants to change the world. And it's just good to know. It really helped give me the confidence and the courage to go forward and do it. And so I really wanted to say thank you to all you guys, and I'm excited too to talk about some of this stuff with you, because I haven't like been able to like dive into the fun concepts. And I love like the name of my meetup is Starseeds and Lightworkers, so I'm super into fifth dimensional light beings. I've had some crazy experiences myself. Anything metaphysical, like any topic, I'm all about it, and I really want to promote that too within my blog and make these conversations, these topics more just every day, and yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome, actually. Like just like the to be able to like hear another person to be like I'm inspired, I'm doing stuff, I'm creating stuff. Like that's just like feeds inspiration into the whole team. So thanks for bringing the inspiration into this. And cool. And did you want to I know I saw like I think I was like the first person or one of the first people to like your new like Instagram profile. I saw that you set it up and stuff. Did you want to just like let people know of any like specific links or anything that you got set up related to that?
It's It Only Takes Three, or you can go on www.itonlytakes3.com. I'm gonna have like a YouTube channel. It's gonna be like a video blog. I'm really excited. It's my passion, and I just want it all to be accessible, free information that anyone can have at their fingertips, because the internet is so powerful, and we don't realize every individual is so powerful and can have a voice if they just put it out there, you know?
Totally, totally. Have you done videos before?
I've made a couple of them, but
Okay.
not really.
Okay, cool, cool. But you're planning on making some for this, so sweet. Sweet, awesome. And that's again, you know, like just recapping and stuff, like that's what this project is about like whether it be the blogs, whether it be the quest journals, whether it be the videos, like if you guys got some of that, like posting it as a quest journal just makes it easier for me to like know that it's there, and then I'll like help relay it and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, like whenever you have content that you're ready to put out there, just let me know, and we'll help give it a good boost and stuff, and link people back to your connections. Cool, cool, awesome, sweet. And is any updates on your like community meetup that you were working towards? Like, is that something,
So
the Indigo Starseed?
well, I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna name it. I'm not gonna change the name of the meetup yet, just because I know there's a lot of people who joined because I think they really want to talk about those topics, and I don't want to like just all switch up on them. But I think what I'll start to do is like make them called like paradigm shift, or like consciousness connections, or awakening answers, or like the names of the meetups, like more general and specific, and just promote them as a more general meetup. And then maybe eventually I'll just go like consciousness, or like awakening support, or something like that, where people can come and just have discussions. And I'm going to Lightning in a Bottle this weekend, so I'm really excited about that.
That's exciting.
It's going to go on up there. So I unfortunately can't have it this weekend, but the weekend I get back, I'm planning on doing one, because I got all fired up after after the admins meeting.
Oh, that's sweet. Are you gonna bring your camera with you to Lightning in a Bottle by chance?
My phone.
Okay, cool. Cool, yeah. Maybe you could do some like snippets or whatever and stuff like that. Like who knows? Like you could, again, you know, like from a journalism perspective, you could, you know, if you feel inspired to, you could do like an after thing where you sort of like write about what you got out of it. And because I mean, the transformational festivals are such a beautiful part of like this bigger story, because again, you know, like literally like in 3 days people can go there and it literally like transforms them. It literally changes their life. They go there and they experience a level of love that they have never experienced before. For some people, like literally, you know, depending on where they're coming from, they'll go there and they're just like, they'll connect with people on such an intimate level, and it's just like unlocks something within them. So have you gone to transformational festivals before, or is
No.
This is your first one?
Festivals, but this is my first like consciousness like
Sweet.
type festival. And I was even thinking about doing, because I got super inspired by your free hugs thing, and I was thinking about doing something like that, but instead like I have been developing this like I'm super into energy healing and Reiki, but I can do this thing where I like connect with people's heart centers and get people's hearts to open up. So I was thinking about doing like free heart healing, and like and then have people come by, and I'll just like give little mini like Reiki heart healing sessions. That it's my own little thing that I created, and then videotaping it and like posting it on the internet, so that I don't know, something similar to what you're doing. But it's just I get all these ideas all the time, and it's which ones I want to act on. But that's what myself doing. So maybe stay tuned for that.
No, I'm really excited to hear that, and again, you know, like just reiterating part of the vision for this project is literally like, like taking in that role of a journalist, a gonzo journalist, and a gonzo journalist just means like someone who incorporates their own personal experience into the story. But again, you know, like it's something that takes practice, and it's something that, you know, when you're doing this is from my own experience. A lot of people will talk about be like, oh, like you can either be experiencing what you're experiencing, or you can be like behind the camera and not experiencing it. And it's about really finding a balance. So like first and foremost, especially since this is your first festival, don't be too concerned about like things off the bat. Like really give yourself time and permission to sink into the experience, understand what it is for you, even like before you take out the camera. Like, you know, like you might want a bit like put it away for like 24 hours at least, and then just like really allow yourself to be there for what you need to be there for. And yeah, because I mean, like with like quest journals through the website, even just having pictures and text is a great way to create an article out of it. Sometimes videos can be like a little like overwhelming with the concept and everything, but sometimes, yeah, you can just take random pictures and yeah, like that's like a great way to be able to tell a story as well. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to being able to just like hear back next time we do a broadcast, and you'll be able to, even just through the broadcast, you'll be able to share a little bit about like how things went, and you'll run into people that I know. Like there's a lot of people who from like the Journey to Lucidity movies and Lucidity Festival who are going to Lightning in a Bottle. So it'll be.
Ended up seeing a guy in one of your videos, and I knew him. Like I followed him on Periscope. He's like Nathaniel. I was like, oh.
Nathaniel Solis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's so funny how synchronistic things like that. Like I don't even. They just happen now.
Perfect. Cool. Well, that's super exciting, Ashley. So thanks for letting us know about that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I just want to be able to take a moment here. We have another new player who has joined the game, and he actually joined a few minutes ago, and that is Gary. So, Gary, hello and welcome to the team Hangout here. If you'd like to unmute yourself, please feel free, and you can test your microphone.
Yes, hello, and thank you very much for your welcome. It's wonderful to actually sit in on my first session. It's amazing how things happen. I've only just found out about what you're all up to in the northern hemisphere of the world, and on Facebook, something came up on my Facebook page, and I thought, my gosh, I've got to look at this. So I'm an observer at this stage to see what's going on, and already I'm making notes, and I just love the terminology, and I just love the name of transformational festivals and events and things like that, which I'm involved with directly and indirectly in New Zealand, where I live. So it's wonderful to have this connection. So thank you very much for allowing me to be an onlooker and perhaps a participant.
Well, thank you very much for tuning in from all the way in New Zealand. It's great to have that worldwide connection happening here. And yeah, please, Gary, like within, as we were going around the circle earlier and everything, we were doing brief introductions, and people were just saying, who they are, where they're from, some of the things they're interested in, and how they're helping shift consciousness where they are, be it through community involvement, be it through creation of art, be it through personal studies. So I'd like to be able to just pass the talking stick off to you if you want to just tell us a little bit more about who you are.
Okay, my name is Gary Cook, and as you can see by the colour of my hair, I'm sort of getting on a bit in years, but been there, and lovely to hear you talking about journalism in the truest of senses. I was a journalist for many, many years, a photojournalist, and I've been a filmmaker and a documentary maker in a very, very small world here in New Zealand. I've written a number of books on things pertaining to this land, mostly to do, my main aim in life at the moment is to help people to reconnect with nature, not that we're ever disconnected, but to reconnect with nature and the natural order, of which humans are very much a part of, but so often in our busy life and our busy days we overlook certain things and we bypass certain things. So I made a documentary about 3 years ago looking at what we call the fairy folk of the forest in New Zealand. I have a great interest in what I call the unseen worlds, the worlds which are alongside us, which we don't always see and we may be aware of, and we may be quite fascinated by. I also currently, I'm the sort of person that dives into all these sort of wonderful things and carries on. Everything is associated and everything is complementary to everything else that I do. And at the moment I have a device where I'm experimenting and doing a lot of good work, I feel, with what we call music of the plants. This device allows me to hook up to trees and plants and giving them an instrument, allowing them to play music. So this is another big thing. It's part of my ventures into the world of nature, and now my passion at the moment, of course, as I said, is to just look at where we stand on the planet at this stage in connection with every other living thing, every other living being on the planet, as I said, seen and unseen, and also every other living thing. Living thing, even if it's the rock standing on the hill by where you live, it's a living thing. But looking, as I am now, looking at trees and plants, whether they are house plants or whether they are trees in the forest or trees out in the garden. So that's my passion at the moment. I guess that if I sort of went back over my 77 years of life, there'd be so many other passions I could talk about, but I'm just talking about where I am at the moment, and that's what prompted me to have a look in there and just sit in and see what you are talking about and where your aspirations lie. So far, and what little I've read about your organisation and what you've set up, I just love what's going on. And it really is very heartening to me because I'm seeing a lot of young faces, and often I talk to people in New Zealand here, and we have workshops and things and facilitate. And so often when we do these events, and particularly if they're festivals, we have so many young people come along, children from 4 to 5 years of age up to 12 years of age, teenagers, young 20s and things like this. And I'm often saying, that we've got to reach out to more and more young people and share what little wisdom we've accumulated over our lifetime. So there we are. That's me in a bit of a thumbnail sketch.
Cool. Well, Gary, thank you so much for tuning in. And I have to ask, you didn't see, you weren't tuned into the broadcast before you joined, did you? Like you weren't tuned into the broadcast prior to joining, were you? Like you didn't see the beginning of the broadcast? Because I was just going to say there's a beautiful synchronicity there.
Yeah. Technically, I'm sometimes a bit behind things or a bit presumptuous, so I just pressed a few buttons here and there, and on my iPad, and I thought, wow, this is going somewhere. So I hopped onto my laptop, and here I am sitting in with your little group here, which thank you for allowing me that space.
Well, I was going to say,
here I am, one way or another.
Thank you for being here, and for people who have already been listening to this broadcast, they already know what I'm going to say, but it's a very nice synchronicity because we spent about the first about at least a half hour within this broadcast already talking about the fairy folk and connection to the fairy folk and sort of like this resurgence of the idea and first of all, the idea that like there's a realness to them from like a metaphysical hyperdimensional perspective, and the idea that like there's actual culture to them, and there's communities, and they're actually quite human like us in a lot of ways. We just don't see them in the same sense. But a very particular idea, and I'd love to be able to even explore this topic a little bit more while you're here, was this sort of new, at least for myself, since I wrote a quest journal about it within the website, about specifically this topic about myself sort of connecting with the idea of myself being an elf-human hybrid. And Gary, and just to point it out, like that's like also like from like my like elf ear that I have there, which for me was like was sort of like, long story short, within the journal I connected it to this idea of like that was like left as a clue for me to open up to the idea of, and this is the new idea of some of us within this lifetime actually considering the idea that in a past lifetime within the theme of reincarnation that some of us actually would have lived as fairy folk. Not to say that reincarnation is something where it's like you only reincarnate as human time and time again. It's like, like some of us would have been animals, some of us would have been extraterrestrials, quote unquote, and some of us would have been fairy folk within, at least that's what we refer to them. So for me, it was sort of opening up to this idea where like I hadn't really clicked into it before to say that, like maybe that's something that happened. And for me, it really touched into a deep place to say, like, yes, I can see myself having lived as a fairy folk, and then this time around, I'm just like choosing to be here in this physical dimension. But have you ever heard people talk about that within your studies? People talk about like having been fairy folk within past lives, and now they're here as physical humans within this incarnation. Has that been a topic that's been within your studies?
Look, it certainly has. With a couple of ladies in particular in this country where I live, quite deep talks. The fact that they are fairy folk, and they have incarnated, as you say, in more of a human form this time around. But I also think too that if there was a coming together between the fairy folk and humans as such, if we want to look at a separation there, if this did happen, this would still be within our DNA. This is still part of our inheritance, our DNA inheritance. So this is why I think some people are more comfortable with these notions, because it's already sitting there. Okay, and then what will sort of inspire someone to look further or to question is when an event occurs. And this is what happened to me many years ago. Not so much seeing things, but hearing. So I hear these people from the other realms so often. I don't see them, and it's not important that I do. Even though I set out with my documentary to go into forests in New Zealand at night time with a film crew and see what we could film, it doesn't quite work that way. So incidentally, you may be interested too. I joined an organisation based in England 2 years ago called the Fairy Investigation Society. Look them up on the web. There's something going on right around the world at the moment which is fascinating. They're actually holding virtually a worldwide census on people who have had physical encounters or encounters of any sort, and they want information. So they're getting together. I think so far they've had somewhere between 400 and 500 reports have come in based on reports they've collected over the last 70 years. So there's just a resurging interest, because the ancient stories tell us, which I find fascinating, is that when humans came into being on this planet, the fairies were here. And it was the fairies who taught humans how to live on this incredible planet that we live on now. Humans, of course, brought other things with them when they came into being, other abilities and other powers. And then over a long period of time, of course, there came a separation. And then some people say that the final separation between fairy and humans took place at the beginning of the industrial age. It was just too much. It was fire and iron and steam and coal and smoke and separation. Now some people are saying that we have moved into the technological age, and because we are now reaching out into other areas through technology, the fairies are there awaiting our response. I think there is a desire now to actually bring about these age-old connections again. So that's what I find so exciting. And in my music of the plants, I'm well aware that when I'm listening to a plant, I might be sitting in the forest here at home listening, and I'm well aware that the elemental beings, the plant elementals, also have a bearing on what the plant is singing or playing at the time. So there we are. I hope that answers a little of your question there. A bit of a ramble, sorry.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I'm sure there's more there to be able to. I would happily listen to, especially since you spent so much time doing this research, and you said like you've made documentaries about the fairy folk. Are these available? Or are these something that we can?
Yeah, it's available. I think it's not up on YouTube. I think it's available to download, okay, as an MP4. Okay. And it's just called, quite simply, Voices from the Forest. If anyone wants to have a look at it sometime, they look at a trailer or something. So, no, it was a very interesting thing to do, because we were stepping outside certain paradigms, okay, and also we were we gained a lot of good information to base this on, from talking to the indigenous people of this land, the Maori people who've lived here for countless generations, and talking to people that the fairy folk, or the patupai arehi, as they call them in this land, have always figured in their lives. They've always been there. It's just the fact that they're there, they're comfortable with it. Some are a little apprehensive about something which may be a bit spooky, but most of them, of course, that I have spoken to. I've collected a lot of anecdotal stories over the last 10 years from people. That's what headed me in this direction. And most of the stories that I've received from people have people who live in the land, people who are farmers, and even people who are hunters. So people who are out in the forests and out in the land, and often away from the cities and towns. And this is where they have their encounter, and they're having physical encounters. they see them, and the fairies actually see them as well. So it's quite intriguing. And some people say that the events are repeated, often with little fairy beings that look much the same every time they see them. So, no, it's incredible actually. There's a lot going on in those realms, and also where you live in the Northern Hemisphere, there's a lot coming out of those hemispheres too. And I mean, there are links obviously into the areas of Sasquatch, Bigfoot, what have you. I mean, it's just a whole big world out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the whole thing for me, it really just goes back to this idea of people opening up to the idea of this multidimensional reality, and again, to understand that like we fit into that very, very innately, very, very intimately, because we are multidimensional beings as well. And whether we're talking about dreaming, whether we're talking about like the soul incarnate, existing beyond our incarnations and everything like that, it's really interesting, again, for you to be here and for myself to suddenly sort of, not just myself, but it seems that like in more places at once, consciousness itself is starting to come back to these ideas of the fairy folk, like for whatever reason. And I feel like there's probably got to, like, I'm just like waiting for like Hollywood to like come out with like a new movie specifically about this, or maybe it's already happened or something like that, because again, like it's something that like why is it coming up? What is it opening us up to? And again, like with the fairy folk, quite simply, like they are the ones that are reminding us of our connections to nature. They are the ones that are reminding us our connections to like the magic of this reality, and also like our potential within it to connect with it, to create within the idea of like seeing life in everything, and having like respect for our relationship between ourselves and our environments. And so I mean, like that is where I feel like for people such as ourselves who are journalists and conscious media creators, like I feel like that's part of our mission, our objective, if we choose to, is to be able to like be an ambassador for the message that the fairy folk want to pass on to the people. Like what are they trying to teach us? What do they want us humans to do? Because like we're so, it's obvious that the humans have sort of like quote unquote like lost their ways, but it's still a part of the journey. It's still a part of the quest. Like it's this process of like going through like like remembering and forgetting. It's the yuga cycle. So I mean, it's all quite natural. It's nothing to be upset about, but it's something to be very excited about, because we have forgotten. Now we're in this process where we are remembering, and there's an objective to this where we can say like, okay, how do we assist with this? How do we help more people to remember? And yeah, like I've heard some stories from friends and they've talked about like accounts of fairy folk stories, and I'll just share a quick one real quick right here. And sorry, Gary, I'll just ask if you can just mute yourself when you're not talking. Just there's just a little bit of a hum, if you don't mind, and then open up your microphone again. Or I'll just mute you real quick. What I was saying though, so here's just a quick story of fairy folk encounter, and this is from one of the islands in Vancouver. And basically, long story short, there is a friend of mine, and this was a story that was passed on to her. But there was a bunch of people, and they were having like a party on one of the islands. And there was like a bunch of parents, and they were sort of like doing their own thing, having a couple drinks. And then there were a few kids, and then there was a daughter of one of the women. And then this daughter, who was like, pretty in tune with nature and everything, she just decided to wander off on her own one time. And then when she like wandered off on her own, this is like, again, sort of the story told from the from multiple perspectives, but pieced together to make a coherent story with what I'm telling it right now. But basically, the little girl, as she was like walking through the forest, she like saw like a pathway that like looked like a little archway that was designed for like a small human, and then she sort of like followed through it, and she followed on this pathway, and then eventually she stumbled upon what she recognized as like a wedding for like fairy folk, like for like gnomes or something. Like they were having like a ceremony and stuff like that. And then so like she saw this and she experienced this, and then she came back and she told her parents about that. And then when she told her parents about that, there were other people within the group, and when that happened, their jaws dropped, because this girl wasn't the first person who had mentioned accounts of running into fairy folk. They were like, no, like there's other people who have talked about this, who have said similar things within this same space. So again, you know, and this goes back to what Jack was saying, that like the children, because they don't have the filters of society and such and so forth that we naturally sort of put on ourselves as we grow up, they're naturally sort of like in tune with those frequencies that allow them to see these other entities. And so I mean, that for me is a very interesting idea, because that opens up to the idea that any of us could potentially be able to see and to potentially encounter, and again, you know, like even I like what you were saying with like how this ties in with Sasquatch. You're right. Like from my understanding, or at least my best guess, is Sasquatch is like a multidimensional being, and Sasquatch is like actually this like very intelligent sentient being who can kind of phase in and out of dimension. Then there's, I'll just share a quick story and then I'll open up the microphone for anybody else who wants to jump in on this topic that we got here. But there's topics of like in the past where people have actually captured Sasquatches and put them like in like a prison or like a jail cell, but then the Sasquatch would literally just walk out of the jail cell because it could like walk through walls. Like it didn't confine to like the physical matter in the same way we did. So it was actually like in the jail cell, like sort of by choice, to like sort of like show the humans itself, and then when it wanted to, it just kind of like walked away. And so like that's kind of this thing, is that like Sasquatch only like sees itself when it wants to be seen, which is why it's so very rarely seen, or it's like oftentimes just like purely by accident, and that's where we get like those like very, you know, peculiar camera footages and stuff like that. But again, you know, like whether it be Sasquatch or whether it be fairy folk, that it's pointing more and more towards this idea that this isn't just fantasy, this isn't just fiction. Like these are actual intelligences and actual entities who we are living alongside with, and we have the potential to learn from as well. So like what happens when we say to the universe like, hey, like I'm open to this, like I'm open to being able to communicate. And it's just like, you know, it's very exciting, because, you know, like suddenly it just opens up this idea of this lifetime being something incredibly magical and being something to be incredibly excited about as well, and also you know, like something to get very curious about as well. And it's very mysterious, but you know, a lot of people are just like be like, oh, you know, that's just fantasy, but it's just like, or is it? It's one of those things where some people will say like, oh, you have to believe it, or you have to see it in order to believe it. But maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you have to believe it in order to see it. So I'll just say that. But if anybody else wants to add in on this, we'll talk about this for a little bit more. It's a fascinating topic, I know. So Gary, if you had anything you want to say, feel free, or if anybody else wants to jump in. Gary, did you want to unmute yourself? Yep, go ahead.
Just to recap on a couple of things that you said, which is just wonderful. You see, quantum physicists are now saying that in the biosphere of this planet, there are so many other areas of life and realities living right alongside us. And the messages that I am interpreting that are coming through, which are unspoken virtually from the fairy realms, they are concerned with what is happening within the biosphere of the planet at the moment, because they share the same biosphere. And this makes me wonder, do they share the same foods? Do they share the same waters? Do they breathe the same air? You know, how close to us are they? And so is there concern? And I think there is a need, you know, for serious dialogue here at some stage with the right people. This will open up, I know. It's just at the early stages, because the separation happened over a long, long period of time, gradually, and then suddenly the Industrial Revolution, that was just a bit too much. But now, if they're coming back, and I mean, it's obvious that in the technological age, you know, with cameras and digital cameras and things like this and apparatus we have, people are picking up images. There's little things being posted here and there on the internet. So it is, and there's more and more of an awareness. And it's so interesting, though, when I would sit with a group of people, say, giving one of my talks, as I do throughout the year, and I'll ask people to share stories with me. What is your experience? And the number of people, men and women, who did have a childhood experience or something even more recently in their grown up years. So it's there, and it's just so tantalizing. It's so close, but I don't think we can precipitate anything. We just have to, as you're saying, open ourselves up to it, and then we'll see, we'll hear, and then perhaps a dialogue can happen. Okay, great. That's it for me.
That's awesome. And Jack actually found a link to your video on YouTube. It's a preview of it, and it's actually available through the Gaiam TV website. So yeah, so
yeah,
and within
I think
the
Gaiam TV as well. Yeah, as a
yes.
download. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's if anybody's interested in that, yeah, you can just run a YouTube search on Voices from the Forest, and you can rent it for $4.99 through the Gaiam TV. So I'm excited to watch that. Like just from the preview, it looks like it's very well done. And just curious, how long was that shot over? Like how long were you working on that project for?
Well, look, not very long at all. We were just a tight team. Myself as the who initiated the whole thing, the cameraman who dubbed and doing the sound as well, and we had a producer and a director. And we just spent 1 month traveling to various locations, interviewing people, and then of course, as you know, it was was post-editing that took the time, of course, as it does. But actually getting out and shooting the footage was a lot of fun and very easy to do. As you know, we can all get out there with our cameras, as I heard the young lady there talking before, about filming. And also I like what you said. And I often say this to people when they're moving into a new place for the first time, a new area, and particularly in this land into a sacred place, is to put your camera away and just hide it away somewhere, orientate yourself with the environment, just sit there, talk to the trees, listen to the birds singing, just lay down on the grass. Then you can get up and take your photographs. Then I always say to folk, and for goodness sake, if you are in a new area and it's very exciting for you, take heaps of photographs. And then put the camera away again, because you can then look at your photographs or your film footage at home on your big screen. And so often, in still photographs, this is where you see something that you didn't see with the naked eye, and it may appear just with shadow and light, like a little face peering out through the leaves of the forest, or something like that, or something moving that you didn't see with the naked eye. So with photography, I found it over the years: get in, get the job done, and then put the camera away, or give yourself time, as you said earlier, to get the feel for the environment.
Yeah, and the idea of being able to film some of these encounters, I feel, is sort of like part of the new frontier. Is like what happens when we start to get the quote-unquote evidence to the point where people are no longer able to just ignore it, or no longer just be able to say like, oh, well, that's fake and stuff like that. So I feel like it's a very interesting thing that we're sort of opening up into, this idea of like, like everything is light. Everything is a being of light, and cameras, their job is to pick up light, and sometimes like our eyes don't always see everything that's in front of us. So cameras in whatever way, and sometimes it's not even new cameras. Sometimes it actually works better with older cameras because of their models and stuff like that. I was actually just gonna, on this topic, just because it's a topic that fascinates me, and again, I feel it's like a huge piece of the puzzle. I just wanted to try doing a screen share real quick of a video that I actually have of some entities from back in the day that I filmed, and I'm just going to screen share this with you guys real quick. This was something that I filmed, and this is like more sort of like orbs or something like that. But go ahead. So like you guys, I know it's a little bit glitchy and stuff right there, but you would have just seen a couple of them. So yeah, so you guys can kind of see in the playback. So those things. You see what I'm showing you in my video?
Oh yes, yeah.
So
listen,
I can pass
that's
forward.
incredible.
Yeah, so it gets into the concept of like people are calling them orbs and stuff like that, but for it like that's any theories?
I'd love to send you a clip that I've got where I was in a forest area at dusk, and I filmed something not dissimilar to that, which is fascinating, which was just the little streaks of light, and they were jumping all over the place in front of the camera, and I was just doing it on an ordinary video camera. Yeah, as you say, and if we are using the technology, you never know what's going to happen and what you're going to capture.
Yeah. So even it's interesting here because like within the video there's sort of a context for it. And if anybody listening to the audio of this, I'll post a link into the show notes. But you can look up quasi-dimensional entities, and it's the first video that will show up on YouTube. And it's like it's the most watched video on my YouTube channel with over 137,000 views. But
God, I should put my film up too.
Yeah. Within within this experience, I even have some on-screen commentary where like I turn around because I didn't see them in the moment, but then you see me in the footage and I turn around and I just say how it's kind of intuitive and stuff, and people are just is it bugs or what? But you sort of see a pattern to them. And what also sort of opens another concept that sort of pieces together this whole theory, this whole idea, this whole perspective, is also something that goes into the realms of the shaman perspective. And one of the ideas is that in this case here, there's these little orbs of light, and they kind of follow people. And some studies, some legends and everything, they'll talk about how every single person actually has these little beings of light, which each one is its own intelligence, its own entity, and they literally follow humans. They stay with them. That's kind of their job. They're kind of guardians or protectors, or just symbiotic relationship with them. And any person can have between 10 and 100 around them at any time. And then they will say that the shamans who are really in tune with nature and stuff like that, they will literally have hundreds that are just constantly around them. So it's almost as they're almost hyperdimensional insects that are attracted to our energy in some way. But I don't want to just but calling them that almost sounds like it's just discrediting what they actually are. But again, this was me filming footage of me doing exercise in a gym, or sorry, not in a gym, in a park. And in the moment, I was really sort of in tune. I was sort of focusing and everything like that. I wasn't trying to film these, and yet they showed up on camera. So for me, there's also this correlation of them showing up with me being in a meditative state, and me sort of being in this mindful, pure state sort of thing. And it's kind of one of those things. It's they'll show up when you're not looking for them. So sometimes if you go out and try and film them, it won't work. It's sometimes you just gotta set up a camera and walk away and sort of forget why you put it there, and then let them come to you and let them leave a little message or whatever. But yeah, these little objects captured on a film, they're just streaks of light. A lot of people just be oh, they're just bugs and stuff like that. And that's the thing, I don't have the answer, but based on my own ideas and everything like that, I'd say it's possible that they are definitely not bugs. And then if that's the case, what are they? ... And again, that's where the conversation continues. So, but anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys. So.
No, thanks for that. It's interesting too, because when you're saying about little beings of light following people around, in my research, I have found there is a deep school of thought, the fact that humans, as well as all mammals and all living things on the planet, including the plants and the trees, we all have an elemental being with us. We all have our own elemental beings. We can understand elemental beings in the context of plants and flowers and things like this. So we have a guardian fairy. We've heard of guardian angels. I believe that we also have a fairy that is always with us. And I think I've yet to further my research on this, is that we also have elemental beings that help to tend us and look after our physical and emotional welfare. There we are.
Yeah, I'd like to share a little bit if possible. From the indigo perspective, I'd like to share that indigo ray with you guys. Every single being that is projecting their consciousness and viewing other reality constructs creates what we see as an orb. This orb is actually their electromagnetic field in their Merkaba. It is spinning counterclockwise, and it creates that orb that we can see through our third eye, sometimes even picking it up through cameras and different technology. There have been light workers that have actually been able to go into meditation to remote view different areas. And at those certain areas, there were cameras set up that are known to be able to capture orbs. And they were actually able to capture the orbs of the light workers, projecting their own consciousness into that area. So this is something that is within the entire, all the different levels of the dimensions. This is something universal that all beings in all dimensions are able to do if they can connect themselves to that. So.
Yeah. Okay. What was I gonna say a moment ago? Yeah, like thanks, Jack. Yeah, like going back, something that Gary said earlier that really struck a chord with me is the idea of reminding ourselves that you're right. Like, this Earth is not just ours, and we as humans, we're so stuck in our egocentric view that we literally think like this is just about us. You know, like we're here, we're the conscious ones, it's just us and everything like that. But hardly do we talk about the idea that our actions are actually affecting the lives, quote unquote, of other entities, both physical and, you know, like extra dimensional, so to speak. So yeah, like I think that's an interesting perspective what Gary put forth, the idea that if that's the case, then the fairy folk in every right mind of the way, you can presume that they would be concerned about the well-being of the planet as much as we are. And that's why, like, now perhaps, like, as we move through this conscious shift, as the veils become thinner, as people begin to awaken, that they're beginning to like make contact with us, and they're beginning to pass on their knowledge, and they're beginning to like remind us of like how we can make a difference. And again, you know, whether it be through like physical encounters, whether it be through experiences with psychedelics, which was something that we touched upon earlier, whether it be through, you know, shamanic plant ceremonies and even just shamanic drumming ceremonies or anything like that, and whether it be through dreams, all of these are sort of ways for us to begin to explore like the opportunities for just like how to communicate and how to expand our concept of what communication even is within this reality. So yeah, I mean, you know, like we're still we're still like, in terms of humans, in terms of like awakening up to our incredible cosmic divinity, we're still like in kindergarten in a lot of ways, and we're just like slowly beginning to remember, and I feel like the fairy folk, like, they're here to remember in a way. So if we choose to listen. So yeah, you know, I just encourage anybody listening to this to just keep that in mind. You know, don't just push this stuff right off the table. Don't just think it's crazy, and just like ask your own questions. See what comes up through you asking questions, because there's definitely more there. Gary, did you want to?
Yeah, just a point there. When you said the time to remember, and this is a key phrase I use when I'm talking to groups of people, it is now the time to remember, because we know all this. It's there. Okay, we've just forgotten. Okay, and we can remember. And that's why we come together as we are now. You see, look what's happening. We're all remembering, aren't we? Yeah, it's just wonderful. Yep, the time to remember. I've not forgotten. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, and then again, even the word like remember, you know, membership, union. So
yeah, that's remember, become
yeah, to become whole again. So to remind ourselves that we already are whole. So yeah, no. So I mean, again, you know, I kind of said earlier, Gary, but like the idea of like more of us becoming in tune with our inner elf. Our inner self, sort of thing, you know. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that the word self has the word elf in it, because like throughout our language there's always been these clues that have been placed for us to remind us, and just be like, oh yeah, like yourself, you're an elf. Like it's hidden in plain sight, so don't forget that. But again, you know, just like, what does that mean to you? That's the important thing. So yeah, it makes me curious, you know, just like opening up to these ideas, you know, like going back to concepts of like Merlin and stuff like that, you know, like if Merlin was a real person, what would he have known about this, or just like what would the relationships have been like back in the day, you know, before technology was around in the same way. And I just feel like there probably was more common interaction, and even still in some cultures it's still very rich. You know, in Iceland, their connection with the fairy folk is still very prominent throughout their culture as well. It still lives on. It's only within like North American culture that it's just like within Disney movies. Yet even still, the fact that it's in Disney movies sort of shows that, you know, it's that is how we are remembering. So through fairy tales and through stories.
Hey, Brendon.
So, Jack. Okay, Jack. Then Gary. Yep. Go ahead.
Do you mind if I interject there? Yeah. When you talked about technology, this is something I kind of wanted to talk about in this meeting tonight. We have to understand as humans that we have the innate ability to be able to telepathically connect with each other. Now, right around the time that we're going through this precession of the equinox and we're starting to develop these telepathic abilities to be able to communicate like this, all of a sudden, here come cell phones. Here we go. Do we need to actually develop our abilities to use telepathy if there's not a need for it? No, we don't. We can just sit there and use this phone here and, hey, call somebody up, you know? So we also have to realize that technology is very beneficial. It can help us. It's like a tool. But we also have to understand that we got to make sure that these tools don't take away some of our innate abilities to be able to do the things that we can naturally do spiritually.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. That's like, I mean, there's a lot there to branch off as well, but yeah, that's a good point, Jack. Yeah, do fairies use cell phones? I don't know. We'll have to get one on the air and ask them sometimes. So, yeah, Gary, did you have a point from before?
No, I'm fine. No, I'm just I'm going to sit back and enjoy the rest of this now.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you know, like even within our culture and stuff like that, you know, like even just Lord of the Rings and all those fantasy things and stuff, like it's there, like it's within ourselves. It's coming through our stories, and we're attracted to all these stories for a reason, you know, and it's because we're seeing ourselves in them, and it's okay if we recognize them first as fantastical, and for some people they always will just be something fantastical, but for some of us, for those who are sort of like that's part of their path, perhaps it won't just be something fantasy. I don't even think the word fantasy is the right word. Like, I don't think fantasy is like it is to distinguish like real and not real. I feel like there needs to be like another word for us to sort of use. Even the word, this is just going back to the language thing and something I'll just put out there. Maybe Gary hasn't heard it before, but you know, we're talking about like fairies and humans, elves and humans, humans, and we're using the term human to describe us. I don't feel like that's the best word to describe us, because to me the word human literally refers to everything, because the woman, as again breaking it down to like the symbolism within the word, is hues of mana being the magic of this world, and human being the many colors of the magic. So elves are human, we're human, animals are human, insects are humans. Like, what is not human if you're thinking about it that way? Yet for some reason we chose that word for ourselves. So I mean, as this conversation evolves, I feel like we need to pick another word for like what we are within this density or something. Cause
what hue are you, man? What's your hue? Man? What's your hue, man?
Exactly.
I love that
spectrum. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that's something that will evolve like into the future as we shift our language and our paradigms a little bit more. Maybe we'll figure it out or something. Yeah. I'd be curious to even like know like where like the origins of like the word like fairy and elves and dwarves, like where, like what those actually refer to or something like that. That's interesting. But even, you know, again, you know, like mentioned the topic of elementals and stuff like that. Like oftentimes, we've been talking so far sort of about like North American culture and European culture and even Australia and New Zealand and everything like that. But you look at like cultures in Asia, and they openly talk about the idea of elementals. They talk about how everything has a spirit. They talk about, you know, there's a spirit for the lake, there's a spirit for that tree, there's a spirit for that rock, and there's like no limit to the spirits. There's sort of like little spirits, and then there's like bigger spirits, and there's groups of spirits. But again, it's something that throughout this day and age is sort of like faded into the concept of myth, yet back in the day it was talked about in a very real and a very serious way, and so we just need to keep that in mind, that this isn't something new, this is something old. So Ashley, you open your mic, did you want to jump in?
Yeah,
And
sorry.
Go ahead, Ashley, yeah, and then Gary.
Unicorns and mermaids too. And I think it's funny how people they eat these concepts up, because I think from some sort of cellular level they just remember, and it's more of like a remembering rather than just fantasy, you know. And it's crazy how like even dragons, like across all different cultures, like somehow they're there, you know, they exist. And I think it even goes deeper. I think that like elves and some types of those races are like ET or other dimensional, like, well, yeah, that's what we're talking about. But like, I think Pleiadians, I think that a group of Pleiadians are elves, and elves are a group of Pleiadians. I don't know why I just always said that. But it's interesting how like that was something I was just thinking about too, and then we start talking about all this stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like oftentimes when we look at images of like Pleiadians and star nations, they look very elven in a way, and again, you know, like it's just, yeah. I just want to say, like, on the topic of unicorns like are so freaking magical, and sometimes people overlook this, but like the unicorn's horn is literally like representation of like the extension of the third eye. You know, so it's like the awareness of the third eye literally manifesting through physical form, coming out of their being and stuff like that. So I mean, that's, yeah, again, like that's, were unicorns real? In some ways, I would say, like, why couldn't they be? Like, there's no reason to think that unicorns couldn't be real. They just aren't around anymore. But again, maybe they are around, and maybe they're just like not in this dimension or something like that. But that alludes to the idea that if that's the case, and they're like freaking intelligent and happy, and like, see that's the thing that we don't really get into, is like, what, like, because it's not within our reality, but it's this idea of like being able to shift dimensions. That seems to be something that us humans just like haven't really incorporated into our experience yet. That seems to be what makes this experience unique. It seems to be a part of our amnesia. It's just like, all right, if you want to play the game as human, then you have to like take away your ability to shift through dimensions. But like you can shift your perception through dimensions, sort of thing. But again, like I'm not saying it's like black and white, because I think we do shift through dimensions, whether it be through dreaming, and again, like whether it be through other experiences when you start getting into like the medicines and stuff. And yeah, and same with dragons. Like who's to say dragons are actually extinct? Maybe they're just like phased out, like in another dimension. But again, like if that's the case, it would make sense that, you know, like they chose to shift themselves out of dimension, because they knew that like humans were going into a new era where if they remained there, we would have killed them or something like that. They had to like do it for their own protection or something. So yeah. Speaking of fairies and dragons, well, hello to Kyle. How's it going, man? Speaking of light dragons.
What's going on, man?
Hey, dude. Welcome to the party.
What's up?
We've been talking a lot about fairies and all sorts of good stuff, man. We'll have to.
Dude.
Yeah. Cool.
That's
well,
awesome.
Well, does anybody else have any thoughts on? I mean, I feel like yeah, like again, mermaids, unicorns, dragons. What other creatures are there that we're like overlooking and stuff like that, or even like what we were talking about, like the Japanese elementals and stuff. What's that called?
Gargoyles.
Gargoyles. Interesting.
Well, they're like Roman culture, but they're positive things.
Do you know much about gargoyles, like the concept of gargoyles, or
how
they fit into Roman culture?
Well, they're protectors. I'm not really sure how they fit into Roman culture, and it's Roman and Greek, but gargoyles are protectors. They're the little tiny dragon-looking gnarly things, like the weird lizards with the wings. They're hanging on the sides of buildings, like out front on posts. They're very gothic looking, kind of scary, very scary looking. You know, they're made to be, but it's because they're protective. They scare away and they ward off things. And said when you put the statue out, you know, like bad things are going on or bad people are hanging out and doing stuff, like the gargoyle will come to life and
Yeah.
take them away and like grab them and fly away up into the sky. And it was cool because we had a gargoyle when I was a kid. Like, it disappeared, you know. Like, someone probably stole it, but you know, I like to think maybe someone was trying to do something and it just took him and flew away.
It flew away. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even the concept of, you know, like, why do we have garden gnomes and stuff like that? Like, garden gnomes are a cute idea, but are they actually alluding to something? And again, you know, like we've touched upon this, but the idea that, like, in most cases, these fairies, elementals, whatever we want to refer to them as, like, in most cases, they would see themselves as, like, protectors of the lands, or like guardians of the lands, guardians of the forest, and everything like that.
Yeah, like the Green Man. You know much about the Green Man?
The Green Man. What's go ahead if you want to tell us a bit about that.
The Green Man is in the pagans. You know about the pagans? I mean, have you looked into any of that, like witchcraft? Sort of stuff.
The term specifically of Green Man isn't something I'm directly familiar with, but I imagine it links in with what we're talking about. Yeah.
It's just like a face in the trees, you know. Like, you see it in the leaves and stuff like that. It's just protector of the woods. That's another one.
Yeah, there's a comment here because I just posted like on my Facebook. I'm like, yeah, still talking about fairies on the Hangout. Anyone wants to join, tune in and feel free. And I like asked people like what they thought it meant and stuff. And Ben left a comment and he says, land spirits or fairies is a topic my spiritual group up near Mount Forest here, they really do exist. Perhaps not in the same space-time as us, but close enough to impact our world. Folklore teaches us that these beings have dominion over nature, and as such must be respected. And I'm not sure what that word is. Ultimately, I think their lessons are varied, and sometimes they aren't here to teach us at all. So I mean, yeah, that's a good point. You know, like sometimes like they're literally just there having their own experiences. Sometimes they just like cross over into our dimension, or we cross over into our dimension, and they're just like, whoa, like what the heck? Like how'd you see me, or something like that? And like they're literally just like living their own lives, and maybe they don't want anything to do with us. Like maybe some of them don't actually like humans. Like, you know, like if that's the case, you would assume that they have.
You're very true on that. Some of them.
Yeah, if that's the case, yeah, if that's the case, you would think that some of them would have like personalities and they would have opinions as well. And this is an interesting thing, you know, because I was thinking about this the other day. People often talk about like things will disappear within their households and stuff, and some people will associate this with the idea of like other entities. They'll be like, oh yeah, like those are the underpant gnomes who like steal your underwear or something. Or that's a South Park reference. But you know, people talk about like how like your crystals will disappear or something. Like maybe that's actually like a part of the entities where they'll take your car keys to play with you, and then you know you'll be like, where the frig are my car keys? And then you'll like find them right where you knew you left them, but they weren't there 10 minutes ago, and you're just like, what the hell is going on? And meanwhile they're just like sitting in another dimension. There's like yeah, and they like have fun with us. They're tricksters, you know. Nefarious and sprites, yeah.
Yeah. If I can intercede on this, like fairies, man, I've connected with them so much, and they are tricksters, but they want to let you know that everything came from nature. Like if they steal a crystal, you gotta realize that this crystal came from nature. Okay? Nobody owns anything when it comes to the fairies' consciousness. Like, it's all a part of what is. Land ownership to them is just like, what? Like, you have your spot, and you don't want people to mess with your spot and your territory, but you don't own this. You're humans. You're gonna die and move forward, and it's just an object. And if you get too attached to an object, they will mess with you, and they will make it disappear. But usually, it always comes back once you relinquish your, you know, attraction or like addiction to it. But yeah, I just had to share that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Gary, was there anything else Did you have any thoughts on anything we've been hitting upon?
No. This is lovely. I just love the way the conversation has drifted along beautifully, encompassing all sorts of other possibilities in the unseen world out there. It's this big. Within this land, the Tuhoi Maori people say that there are 102 different gods and spirits. You were saying before, there's a god for the wind and a god for the trees and a god for the waters. They have 102. But not only do they serve the purpose within the planet, but they also serve a purpose out in the cosmos. So it's a big picture, the interconnectedness. Yeah. And I just love when you were talking about Lord of the Rings, of course, it was filmed here in this land, and number of people are now making journeys to various locations of the film within New Zealand. You can actually buy a little guidebook, and there's something like 120 different locations mentioned there. And people are really gaining something deeper by going and visiting film locations, which is incredible. Because I always think that what went on the film locations, other than the busyness of making a film, and there was the passion and the energy, there were the lines and the words which were spoken at that given location. And all these things are recorded forever within nature, within the stones and even within the trees. Because my interest in trees, as I was saying before, they know. Humans have 5 different external senses. Scientists have now told us that trees have 22 different senses. So you can imagine what they know and what they feel and what they understand. Now, dear people, I'm going to have to take my leave. I'm sorry. I sort of stepped into this incredible conversation. I'm so excited. I'll be back. I don't know how and when, but I'll be in touch on the internet. And so it's just lovely seeing you all and hearing you all. And thank you for welcoming me into the moderator into this session. It's just been so enjoyable.
Oh,
so,
thank you. Yeah,
I'll be back.
Thank you so much, Gary, and yeah, no, I really look forward to connecting, and again, through this project, I'm more than happy to be able to help share what you've been creating with more people, just as a beautiful source of information and a source of inspiration as well. So yeah, I look forward to chatting, and for people in the community, stay tuned for more of Gary Cook. So
okay, thank you, and blessings to you all.
Thank you again, Gary. Take care. Cool. All right, guys. Well, and then there was 4. So I feel like we're going to be getting close to wrapping up the broadcast anyway. So maybe let's just sort of see what other points we want to bring into the topic of conversation that we got going on here. Oh, it looks like a wild Jimmy has joined the game. So that's pretty cool, because Jimmy was just saying how it wasn't working for him. Jimmy, are you there, Jimmy? Is this working for you? We'll have to see. We'll have to see if that's working for him. So, but yeah, anybody else? Is there any other stuff that we want to talk about in terms of like the fairy folk and everything? I mean, I know we've talked about it a lot. Again, like I like going back to the idea of being able to approach the dream space as a place where we can connect with the. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Is that maybe within the dream space there may be intelligences within your dream space that are of fairy origin who you can learn from as well. That's that shared space that both of us can enter into. But yeah, any other thoughts and comments? Feel free to jump in, guys. Ashley, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I'm going to take off here really quick. I'm still super jet lagged from this week, but I actually have a video. I'll have to share it with you guys. And I had just kind of invited the fairies into my own magical workings and just my life in general. And I made this video of me, and it's not posted anywhere or anything, but it's talking about my awakening experience. And at 11 minutes, I swear to God, you see this little like light flickering around my head. It like does a little phew. And I'll have to show you guys like at least a little clip of it, because I'm pretty sure it's a fairy, but and you can invite like the unicorns, the fairies, anyone into your life at any time, and they'll start like appearing to you. You just have to give them permission. Especially unicorns. Like unicorns want to help. They'll heal you with their horn. but yeah, that's just what I found, and super fun stuff.
Definite words of warning and
Cool. I was just gonna. Sorry. I just wanted to say one thing. Oh, sorry. Actually, I was on you as well. I was just going to say one thing, what I was reminded of when you were talking there, the idea of, when we talk about animal totems, we talk about animal spirits, we talk about the teachings of them, like what they represent. So, I mean, we can use that same concept when talking about the fairies. We can look at them as teachers, like what is the teachings of the unicorn? What is the teaching? I'm saying it's like, oh yeah, my spirit animal is Sasquatch. So I don't know if anyone's ever said that before. But yeah, again, like just look at them as teachers within this reality, and yeah. Oh, and I was going to say, Jack, before you jump in, I'd like to end this with a tarot card draw that we can do soon. So I was going to propose doing that within the next minute as well. But Ashley, if you're heading out, yeah, do that whenever. But Jack, did you want to jump in? Go ahead.
When you were talking about spirit animals and stuff, I just wanted to go in a little bit with the Native American understanding. I've been working a lot with the Native Americans and going to sacred ceremonies with them, different sacred spots on the earth, and learning a lot of their wisdom. And they have what's called a sacred bundle. And when that's given to you, sometimes it can actually just appear from non-physical to physical. I mean, they don't really talk too much about that on a public level, but it's very magical, and it really connects you with your past lives as an animal, and that's how we can really connect deeper with ourselves. If you've had lives as, let's say, a bear, you're going to have different diet preferences. If you've had past lives as raccoon, so we've had so many different multiple past lives to build us up to where we're at now in our consciousness and our frequency. And so to connect to the idea that we have these animal instincts and these animal energies inside of us, and our spirit animal can actually be parts of us connected to past incarnations that we've experienced, and that's why we have a higher affinity to be able to connect with certain animals in this realm. So just want to mention that. Cool.
Yeah, and I think we'll spend like a whole nother topic getting into like animal totems and everything like that too. It's definitely just so many shifty topics to talk about, but they all connect. That's the exciting thing when you start connecting the dots, and that's what we do here. It's all one circle. So yeah, cool. Okay. This is what I'm thinking, guys. I'm gonna say let's do a tarot card draw, and then we'll finish with like a short meditation, and then we'll wrap it up, and that'll be it. So yeah, let's do that. Let's move into the tarot card draw. I'm just gonna do this real quick, and if my best, if there's like without any expectations, it'll be interesting to see what the card is in relation to just everything that we've been talking about here. So let's take a moment here if you guys just want to breathe. So again, like within the magic of the tarot card, it's an opportunity for the universe to communicate with us through the language of symbols and message. So whatever it is that we need to hear. So I'm going to draw one card. So okay, let me just charge the deck real quick. All right. That's how you draw tarot, by the way. Works better when you make the noise. So okay, and the magic card is nice. Magic card is Ace of Spheres. So I'll show you guys the image there. It's a very beautiful image. This deck is the Ananda Tarot deck, if anybody's interested. And let me just flip this open real quick to see what Ace of Spheres has to tell us. And okay, I know where it is. It's at the front. Okay. All right. Ace of Spheres. So here's the image. You guys can look at it. Ace of, oh, and the image for the people on the podcast, it's like a single sphere on the ground, like a mirror globe, and then up in the sky there's like the moon, but it looks like that moon dog sort of thing, sun dogs, where it's like a circle around the moon, and it looks really beautiful. The image, as a symbol of infinity poured into form, a crystal ball lies in the foreground of a nighttime landscape, shimmering in the radiant light of a mandala. Meaning. Sorry. The Ace of Spheres represents the originality of the earth element in its purest form. In the capacity of bringing about concrete results, man reveals his denser earth element mind. The sphere symbolizes material as a manifested expression of finer reality in the figure of infinity in form. The gracefulness of its form and the limitless nature of its surface reflect the ideal for perfect harmony in creation. The Ace of Spheres points us towards talents and gifts, as well as the ability to express and develop these in the material world. In realization of his very own being, the individual finds the fulfillment of his purpose. I'm just going to read that last part again. The Ace of Spheres points towards talents and gifts, as well as the ability to express and develop these in the material world. In the realization of his very own being, the individual finds fulfillment in his life purpose. Astrological significance: Venus, Jupiter, conjunction aspects. Keywords: power of realization, matter, stability, density, living ideally, earth connection, receptivity, heaviness, nature. Traditional meaning: material values, new beginning, material visions, security, wealth, abilities, talents, possessions. And that's that. That's that. So, yeah, even that part where it said, the gracefulness of its form and the limitless nature of its surface reflect the ideal of perfect harmony in creation. So I kind of like the idea of like a mirror ball and it reflecting everything around it. And maybe the idea of like us being that mirror ball and us being a reflection of our environments and knowing that our environments are a reflection of us as well. So taking responsibility for our role as the mirror ball. At least that's one way to think about it. So yeah, just process that however it means to you guys, and shout out to the universe for leaving that message with us. So cool. Okay, I'm gonna just guide us through like a quick meditation, and then we'll wrap this up. Before we go into the meditation, I just want to let you guys know just a couple community things. Update-wise, I'm in the process of updating the team email list. I'm going to be working on a way to make sure that more people are getting the team emails. This has been an issue in the past where, because of like some technical stuff, like it was only reaching a small percentage, and I'm going to be working on that, and we're going to be switching over to a new email distribution service. So stay tuned for that, but reminding people to get updates by connecting to the Facebook pages and clicking liked and clicking on get notifications first. That way, so you can get, and also the new aspect through the website, where if you see on your desktop there's a little bell in the bottom left corner of the website, be sure to click that and subscribe to desktop notifications as well, and that will be a way to sort of bypass Facebook updates and email updates for specific things. And then the other thing, of course, just reminding and inviting people who are tuned into this and who are listening into this to be able to sign up for Patreon, the team crowdfunding, when they are comfortable and able to. That's a huge way to be able to help support the project. And the minimum donation would just be a simple month, and that's kind of like the awesome idea behind how like the crowdfunding for this works, is that through the collective micro contributions that we all make to it, it's this idea of nothing is lost but everything is gained. So a lot of people can easily donate $3 a month, and then that adds up, and of course when you donate $3, that gets you the Shifter Booster Kit, and I'm going to be sending those out very soon, and you guys will be hearing more about those, and they come with as many shift buttons as you ask for. So So it's a really awesome deal, and it's supporting the production and the ongoing evolution of this community project. And the other news related to that is a congratulations for the whole team, because we actually met the goal that I set for our 500 milestone to reach that before the end of May. And we already did that. So we're at 505. So congratulations to the whole team. That's awesome. And the next milestone will be 600, and that will be by the end of June. And any extra donations that people want to get in before the end of May are greatly appreciated, because the pay cycle happens at the end of each month. So if you're thinking about donating and are able to donate before signing up by the end of May, then that will allow it to go, that will allow like that funds to come through with this transaction that happens at the end of May. And again, go to patreon.com/Brendon Culliton or paradigmshiftcentral.com/donate if you want, if that's easier to remember. And so again, just a huge thank you to everyone. Like, that's what makes this project possible, and it also allows us to function the main website without having like crazy advertisements on it to like fake websites that you see on a bunch of other websites. So it's like keeping our website polished and clean and really in-house, and yeah, it really just helps evolve this ongoing project and more free shift buttons for people in the community. So that's the basis on that. So again, thank you to everyone for making that possible. Cool. Okay, so let's move into our meditation here real quick, and let's intention wise, I just invite us to bring our awareness back to ourselves, back to our breath, back to our connection within the present moment, and then inviting you to use it as a space to project any intention out there for the universe. So, you know, maybe saying like, you know, I invite more magic into my life. I invite creativity for what is still ahead, and just bringing in the gratitude, because there's so much amazing things still ahead of us, and I'm really excited. I'm excited for us. I'm excited for us as a team. I'm excited for Ashley to go to Lightning in a Bottle and have an amazing time and connect with beautiful people. And this is the Transformational Festival Earth. We're all a part of it. So, okay, guys. Whew. All right. So let's just connect with our breath. So just allow yourself to even just sit up straight. Imagine someone pulling a string from the top of your head, straighten up the spine. And we'll begin here with a gentle, deep inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose and the mouth. So at your own pace, inhale and exhale. And again, gentle inhale. And exhales. And just allow yourself to connect with your rhythm. Allow yourself to connect in the shared present moment that we are co-creating together. Shifters from across the globe. Reminding ourselves more of who we are. Reminding ourselves more of what we are capable of. Connecting with ourselves, connecting with our potential to help those around us in turn. So inhale, so allow yourself to breathe in that gratitude. Exhale the excitement for things to come. Inhale gratitude for the mysteries and the magic. Exhale excitement for the anticipation of what is still hidden, yet soon to be revealed. Just reminding yourselves, opening yourself to the magic of this reality in whatever way that means to you, in the simple ways, in the complex ways, in the ways bigger than we even know. So just connecting with the breath, just take a moment here in your own silence to be present and project to the universe. Project gratitude. Open yourself up to whatever it is you need right here, right now. So just breathe. So just reminding you of how wonderful you are doing, each and every one of you. I really and honestly do appreciate you being here. Each one of us being bridges between what is and what can be. So take a couple more breaths here, feeling the connection between ourselves and all the other shifters around the good world. Feeling the connection between ourselves and all of the fairies and the elves who are watching us and cheering us along with anticipation and excitement. We share in the joy of this shared remembrance, of this shared moment. This is a very special time to be here. This is a very special time that you have chosen to take part in this adventure, in your journey, in this dream, together as our dream. Just take another breath. Exhales. You are capable. You are strong. You are courageous. You are confident. Everything that you need is within arm's reach. And this is just one more step in an ever-unfolding journey. So gently, with a couple more breaths, we'll bring our awareness back to our physical body, carrying that gratitude with us beyond this moment into our lives, sharing it with others, knowing that the little things make the big difference, that the ripples create the waves. So slowly, when you're ready, you can bring your awareness. You can wiggle your toes and your fingers back to the body and gently open your eyes and return your awareness to the space around you. So there you go, guys. Little bit of a boost. Get boosted. Get pumped. Get shifty. Are you guys ready? Get shifty. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much again for you guys for joining us here in this moment, for everyone tuning into this in the future. Jack, go ahead if you want to say anything real quick.
And thank you for creating this space for us to all come together. And I really appreciate your effort here, man, and what you're doing here for this whole community. And just sending my gratitude from my heart to you and to everyone here tonight. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you, brother, and yeah, and thank you again, guys. Again, really, thank you to the people listening to this. Again, just reminding and inviting you guys to sync up with the website, create your profile through the website. That's, really, this project is an ongoing thing, and we're still just in the early stages of it. So if you resonate with it, if you're feeling the vibes of it, then that's a great way to sync up. One other thing, just only because I forgot about it, if anybody's interested in the Open Your Heart shirts, those are still available through the main website. Our current campaign ends in about 11 days from now, with the goal of 16 shirts. So if you want to be able to get one of those, and then after that we're going to be switching up the shirts, so it won't be the Open Your Heart shirts after that. So if anybody wants those, and again, that's just a great way to get tools to help shift paradigms. And a wild Jimmy has appeared. Hey, Jimmy.
There's other people. Something.
Cool. Sure. Well, we're literally just about to wrap up, Jimmy, but I'll give you a second to. Did you want to say anything for all the people listening out there, real quick?
Awesome, man. Is it working?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. Quick message for all the other dreamers out there that you might have.
Wave at the camera, Charles.
Hey, there you go. We got like 3-4 people on it.
Jimmy, did you want to? Jimmy, can you hear me?
Yeah, too bad I can't hear anything.
Oh,
I
you
don't know
can't
what's
hear
going
us.
on.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that explains it. So, all right. Well, we'll definitely get Jimmy in here on another.
I'm surprised it's even working. This took so long.
All right. Okay. So Jimmy's a good shifter. He's been around for a while, and it's good to see him in here. And we'll definitely hook up with him again in the future. But bringing this broadcast to a conclusion, and I just want to be able to pass it over to Kyle. Any last message that you just wanted to share for people listening? Just short and sweet. If there's anything you want to say.
Oh man, I would also like to send my heart out to everyone listening, because I'm really appreciative of the space we have to come together and share these ideas, you know, even though I kind of missed the whole conversation, but still about fairies and dragons and all kinds of beings. I have a lot to say about many of them. I have a lot of personal experiences to share, some good, some really bad, and all I'm going to say is, Brendon, if you haven't listened to my creepypasta story yet, you have got to listen to it, because listen to it right after this, man, because it's perfect. Because if you're talking about dragons and stuff, definitely listen to it. That's probably one of the darker times, but listen to it. It's good.
Right.
Otherwise, man, just, I don't know, like, find love within yourself. That's what my lesson was today, and for the past couple of days is what it's been. And you know, just try and stay focused on what your inner self is telling you, and try and stay connected with your higher self. Listen to it, listen to those influences, and just try and be in your receptive mode and have your pineal gland on, I guess. No, try and stay in your receptive mode when you're dealing with stuff, people, like, and if you also have, like, you know, trouble, like, with depression or whatever, like, just try and go outside, stand in the sun for a while. You'll probably feel a lot better if it's sunny in your area.
For sure. Well,
Yeah.
I will say, just as a bit of a reminder for people, just in terms of upcoming events within the Paradigm Shift community. So again, you know, Thursdays we have we always have a broadcast. It's either going to be a team building hangout, Destiny School, or an admin hangout. Next week after this is a team building hangout. The week after that is Destiny School, and the topic is going to be on health and fitness. So start doing your research on that now, boys and girls, and bring your notes to class for that one, and feel free to participate and even give like a little presentation in that. And the most immediate broadcast coming up after this one is going to be the dream class. Jimmy, can you hear us? I don't think Jimmy can hear us. Okay. So the next live broadcast, reminding people who are tuned into this, is going to be the Paradigm Shift Dream class, and that's going to be on Tuesday. So again, that's Tuesday, May 31st, and that's a place where we talk about like dreaming experiences and everything. So I mean, that's something I've been working on, and again, you know, I'm looking forward to being able to share with you guys some new experiences within that class, and collective progress, and just giving a place for people to have that place where they're inviting the discipline of the lucid dreaming and the dream exploration practice within their own space. So again, if that's new to you, then please feel free to sync up, go back, check out previous broadcasts, check out the global meditations, and yeah. With that said, we'll wrap this up now. And again, for everybody who you've heard in this broadcast, you can find links to their profiles, their YouTubes, their websites through the show notes for this broadcast of the Team Building Hangout from May 26th. And again, you can find me through facebook.com/SkullBabylon, youtube.com/SkullBabylon, and that's pretty much it, boys and girls. So with that said, we're gonna officially wrap this up. So I'll just invite you guys to join me in saying farewell to our friends on the internet. So for Jack and Kyle, on behalf of Jimmy, let's say farewell to all the shifters out there. So good night, fellow shifters.
Farewell. Good night.
Farewell. Good night.
Good night, guys.
Have a good
awesome
time.
All right, guys.
Yes.
Keep it magical, guys, and keep it shifty. We'll see you in the future. All right, thanks again, guys. One love. Peace.